Welcome, everybody, to SteeleWatching, the podcast for Remington Steele fans. I am Eric, and I had a mixed week this week. My wife made chili, which should be fantastic, but she gave half of it away, so my week was ruined. She gave it to my daughter and son-in-law, so my week's shot.
Does she have any for me? Because I'll take some.
No, hey, my rule on my wife's chili is mine.
And I'm Sara, and I'm apparently not getting any chili, so
no.
Sad.
Well, it would be hard to mail,
That's true. That would be awkward. And it's a rotating strike right now, so it might get here, but it might not be till Christmas, which would be bad. So,
yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Would not be a good thing.
No.
Anyway, we are looking at Season 4, Episode 7, Premium Steele.
Yay!
You had said that this is one of your favorite episodes,
this
possibly
is one of my
all
favorites.
the series.
Yeah, it's definitely up there, so I'm excited. Yeah.
It first aired on December 3, 1985, was written by Gerald Sainoff. It's the first time we've had him.
Yep.
And directed by Gabrielle Beaumont, which is the second of her 3 episodes. Illustrated Steele, this one, Premium Steele, and then also Steele in the Running coming up later.
She's kind of knocking it out of the park in terms of the 2 episodes that she's directed. They're both really good. So,
well, in all fairness, a lot of that is the script. I mean,
true.
Granted, a good director can take a bad script and make it look better, but only so far. I mean, lipstick on a pig might improve it somewhat, but a pig is still a pig.
Well, but if
no, she's had good episodes.
If you think of Illustrated Steele, the transitions that she had between the comic panels and what was actually happening, that was really artistic and really clever. So you're right. If it's a bad script, there's not much you can do. But she took a good script and made it really good. So
yes. So anyway, let's get on with the synopsis, which I have pulled from Judith's book, Steele Loved After All These Years.
Yay.
And I went with the TV guide listing, although the others are good too, but I went with TV guide because that's kind of been our standard here. Yeah. So it goes something like this. In fact, it goes exactly like this. The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, or so claims garlic farmer Lester Shane when a phony obituary threatens to ruin his life. So
I don't know if you looked into this, that phrase, that quote. Do you know where it originated?
As soon as you say it, I'll know, but I can't pull it to the top of my head yet.
So it was Mark Twain, although it's...
Yes.
So it's one of those quotes that is frequently quoted wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Luke, I am your father, which isn't actually what they say in the film. In this case, the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated is paraphrasing what Mark Twain actually said. There was a death hoax, and it was similar to what has happened in this episode. Newspapers printed falsely printed news of his death, and he said something like, the report of my death was an exaggeration. So it's a paraphrase, but yeah, it was Mark Twain. So,
it works better this way, though.
It does work. It really does.
Anyway, well, we start with an establishing shot of the Del Capri Hotel. The camera pans to the front door of the hotel, and we see a man walk out. He's dressed in a nice suit, so he's not a bum, but he looks a bit disheveled. His tie is not tied snug, he hasn't shaved, and he's stumbling, and he has a piece of paper in his hand. He makes his way to a news rack, buys a newspaper, then steps over to another newspaper rack, buys a different paper, and steps over to yet another newspaper rack and buys yet another and different paper.
Remember when those existed, those things where you could put money in and get newspapers out of them?
Yeah.
Craziness.
Oh, well, I remember that. Well, I don't know if everybody had these, but something called the nickel ads, which was basically a freebie that was...
Oh, we used to call that the penny saver. Is that the same thing?
Okay, probably. Yeah. They had a few maybe local interest items in them, but mostly it was advertisements like your classified ads.
Right, yeah.
So they would be in the rack. They had theirs weren't as sophisticated. They were just basically a wooden, like a small cabinet that had shelves on it, and they just stack them up there, and you just Because there was no money
they were-
involved. They didn't have to worry about the door closing on the front and locking it until somebody put a coin in
I
it.
have a confession to make.
Oh, no.
There was a newspaper.
Anybody from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police or the Toronto local constabulary,
I'm not in
do not
Toronto.
listen to this. Do not listen. Please go take a short break.
So it wouldn't be the RCMP or the Toronto Police that would get me. It would be either the Ontario Provincial Police or the London City Police. But either way, don't listen.
Don't listen.
But I have a confession to make. There used to be a newspaper stand rack thingy outside the
You
diner.
realize I'm not wearing my clerical collar today.
Outside the diner that my parents used to own, and this was before they owned it. But there was there was something wrong with it. It was we found this out sort of accidentally, that if you clicked it a certain way, it would just open. You could get the paper out without putting money in it. So we regularly stole the Toronto Star. No, it was the London Free Press. Sorry, it was the London Free Press. But we'd grab it because you could just go in there and get a paper, and you had to shake it a certain way. But if you jimmied it, it would open. So
Well, the thing is, for a long, long time, newspapers claimed that the subscription price or the price of the newspaper was really meaningless because they made all their money from advertising, all classified ads and the newspaper ads. And it's like, okay, then why do you keep raising the rates of
Exactly. Anyway, that's my confession. You keep going. I'm glad I got that off my chest.
Yes, I'm let's see, what should be your penance? Anyway, yes, he pulls one of the newspapers opens and starts tearing through the pages as he blindly walks down the sidewalk and into the street in front of a truck, which has to stop in a hurry. And of course, the driver honks his horn at the man. And blindly, he continues across the street, almost like he didn't hear the horn, didn't know what's going on, didn't pay attention. And he's still tearing at the pages, and then into another lane of traffic, forcing yet another motorist to slam on their brakes to prevent hitting him, along with another blast of the horn.
It's funny because he's looking for news of his death, potentially causing it.
Yeah, that's...
Just walked into traffic.
Well, I mean, hey, if you're already dead, what does it matter, right?
Exactly.
Well, next we are at the agency. Steele is at his desk, sitting in his chair, feet up on the desk, reading the manual for a brand new VCR, which is sitting on top of its box on his desk.
Okay, I have two questions.
Okay.
One I'll ask later, but one I'm going to ask now.
Okay.
He has a VCR. Is this just because he wants it in his room as well as in the living room? Because we know he has a VCR. We've seen them the Atomic Man episode. They're watching
That's
the tape
true.
in his living room.
Unless they rented a machine for that particular instance. But yeah, it's...
I find it very hard to believe someone like him wouldn't have a VCR in his living room at this point.
It's apparently because it does go into his bedroom. So obviously that's the purpose of it. Then yes.
Okay. And I looked into the cost of these machines, and some of them would run anywhere between $200 and $400 equivalently now, which is kind of insane when you think about it, because I could go down to
Actually, probably more than that, because I think the first VCR I got from my parents, because I was working at remember that story I told you about, Jeffco, just another company?
Yeah.
I got a VCR for them, and it was a lower end model, and it was like couple $100 at least, and that was just a basic model. So I some of them I think in that time were well over $500, depending on whether it was beta or VHS. VHS was always cheaper, and then also the quality of the machine.
And my second question will be to do with hooking this up, because I think this episode is
making things more difficult than it needs to be.
I have hooked many a VCR up in my day, and
not necessarily.
It is not this hard. It is not this hard. I'm sorry, it's just not.
1980s. Think 1980s. There are some complications, so we'll get. Okay, fine. We'll get there. But... Anyway, where were we? Yes, it's sitting on top of his desk, and although he is confused as he tries to decipher all the technobabble contained within the pages, which read 28 functioning remote with direct keypad tuning and built-in MTS. Even though he's confused, he's clearly excited about the machine, calling it his little beauty.
Yeah. Do you know what the built-in MTS is?
I looked that up, and in VCRs, MTS, or multi-channel television sound, is a system for encoding stereo audio along with a base mono signal, as well as a secondary audio program called SAP into an analog TV broadcast, which allows for a second audio language, often Spanish or French, or descriptive audio for the visually impaired.
Yes. Okay. I looked it up too.
Yeah.
Because that was the only part of it. Because like I said, I was sitting here watching this episode thinking, I don't know how it's this complicated. I remember what you had to do. In fact, I've got the instructions in front of me when we get there, because I went down a Google rabbit hole for some of this episode. And yeah, so I looked up, I'm like, okay, the MTS thing is the only part of this that I don't recognize, or that's not pinging any bells. But obviously it probably exists. Like we probably had it on one of our machines, but just didn't.
Yeah.
The other thing I found when I was going down my rabbit hole was that 1985 was sort of a pivotal year for VCRs and video cassettes, because this was the year that the sale of video cassettes for home viewing eclipsed the box office. And there was actually some concern that VCRs were going to kill off theatrical moviegoing, that it would sort of destroy the theater experience, because this article that I found said, as the VCR was adopted by households across North America, the film industry was watching nervously. In May 1986, the technology which allowed users to watch pre-recorded video cassettes or make home recordings of TV broadcasts was being adopted by an estimated 1 million households per month in North America. This virtual explosion of VCR sales has had some major effects, said CBC's. This is from the CBC. So this is Canadian, but still it translated over into the U.S.
Sure.
Kalina visited the set of Wisdom, a movie written, directed by, and starring Emilio Estevez. It was aimed squarely at Hollywood's prime youth market, and according to recent research, almost half the market would be watching it on home video. And so the people who run Hollywood are looking to see, is the VCR a friend or is it an enemy? Jack Valenti, head of Motion Picture Association of America, wasn't making any predictions. I don't think anybody could tell you whether or not the intrusion of the VCR will have a cataclysmic or a beneficent effect on the movie business. 4 years earlier, he seemed to lean into the cataclysmic side when he compared the VCR to a serial killer in testimony before the U.S. Congress. One thing was certain, the video store business was booming, and people weren't just renting and buying Hollywood movies, but instructional videos. You can plunk in a cassette and work out with Jane Fonda, Mr. T, or even Mickey Mouse, said Kalina as the camera scanned the shelves at a Tower video store in L.A. You can finally learn how to appreciate wine. So, yeah, they were quite nervous about the VCR and its presence in people's homes, which is kind of interesting, because if you think about the comparison to now, streaming is sort of taking that place, because now you got a lot of movies that are being made specifically for streaming and bypassing theaters entirely, or maybe going into theaters for a week so that they can be eligible for the Oscars. But beyond that, there's a market there that doesn't exist in theaters anymore. And I think that's going to have more of an impact than the VCR did. But
it already has.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting.
In a lot of respects, not just in how they distribute movies, but it's also had a very sharp and arguably detrimental impact on the rest of the industry, the actors, the writers, everybody. But the thing about VCRs is that given the quality of both the TVs and the VCRs at the time, the image quality did not at all compare to what you would get in a theater experience.
No, definitely not.
But as with audio cassettes, the television and movie industry was fighting against the technology, trying to get it, first of all, declared illegal to use, and failing that, they managed to get a bunch of taxes imposed so that every time you bought a machine or you bought a blank tape, you were actually paying a hidden tax. It wasn't it didn't show up on the list on your receipt as, tax on VCR, tax on blank video cassette, but there was a tax in there added. And as far as I know, those taxes, all of those taxes on both the video cassettes, the machines, and on audio cassettes are still in force.
They are, but in comparing to streaming, a lot of those residuals or rights percentages, what have you, are not going to filmmakers or writers. So we had a writer's strike recently for that reason, because that's just, they're going to have to fight for that as well as an element.
They get paid a lump sum to appear in this movie or to produce it or to direct it or whatever their role is. They just get paid off a lump sum and bye-bye, you're gone.
Yeah.
You get nothing further. And
what's especially frustrating about it is that, at least with VCRs and video cassettes, if you bought the movie, it was yours. You owned it as a consumer, right?
Right.
With streaming services, like it's so frustrating, because we watched Hocus Pocus earlier today. Now, Disney came out with a sequel to it. It's on Disney Plus. Is it on DVD? No. They released it only for Disney Plus, and so in order to access it, you have to pay to keep Disney Plus forever, and hope that they don't just pull it like they did with the TV series Willow that I never got to see. So it's less like you're allowed to own these things now, and more like you're renting them again, but they can take that rental away from you at any time, and it's very frustrating, because I would like to own that movie. I don't want to just someday find that it's gone and never be able to see it again. That's extremely annoying. So,
and what's even more annoying, or a more annoying aspect to that, is that they can and do regularly change the content of the movies. And now if you're talking to somebody about a particular movie and you say, well, remember that scene? And it's, what are you talking about? That wasn't in there. Or when they pulled out this thing,
exactly.
What are you talking about? That it wasn't this, it was, they pulled out that. And it's like, but you can't prove that you were right, even though you are right, because it's like the memory hole in 1984. It's gone.
Yeah.
You have no way of proving what you know to be the truth, because all evidence of it has been destroyed. And you don't have any kind of a physical copy independent of the people who are putting it out to say, no, see, this is actually what did happen. So, Amazon has been doing that same thing, pulling books off of people's Kindles. They bought them. They thought, well, I own this. No. What happened to it? Well, we pulled the book. Well, why? Well, because the publisher decided they didn't want the book out there anymore.
Yeah. I don't have a Kindle, but I have a Kobo, and which is a Canadian equivalent. But
isn't that Barnes and Noble?
I thought it was just a Canadian.
Because I know it's available as an app on multiple devices. So but I thought it was. I don't know. I thought it was.
Either way, they can do the same thing there. Yes. They can take the books off, and then suddenly, there's your. You could do it right in the middle. You're halfway through the book, it's gone.
Yeah, because you didn't actually buy it. What you did was you licensed the right to use it until the time that they decide you don't have the right to use it anymore.
Hey, if buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing.
Well, there's an argument for that. There is a very strong argument for that. And think about the fact that even in newer cars, a lot of the electronics in there, the functions for the electronics that you get, it's got this feature, that feature. That's all software.
Yep.
And it's all licensed, and they can pull that at any time. So
bring back VCRs.
That's been a real big hassle with Tesla owners. Tesla owners buy a car with these features, and then they resell it to somebody else. And the new owner bought a car that was originally purchased with these features. The features were bought and paid for, but they have to rebuy them because Tesla says,
"Well, surprising at all."
So but anyway, all right, where were we? Yes,
sorry, I took us down a VCR rabbit hole.
Yes, he's sitting on his chair, feet up on the desk, reading the manual. He's excited about his little beauty, and the phone buzzes. And without even looking away from the manual, he reaches over, picks up the receiver, and immediately says, "No interruptions, Mildred."
Yeah, he's very busy. Important work.
Yes. important work. Yeah. She tries to talk to him, but he won't have it, telling her, "I need to concentrate. Thank you." And he not quite slams the phone down, still trying to understand what built-in MTS is. And as he continues mumbling at the content of the manual as he reads, Mildred, taking his no interruptions admonition not too seriously.
Well, because he's not the boss anymore. She didn't have to listen to him.
Well, that's true. She steps in saying, "Sorry, boss, but I think you ought to." But, of course, she doesn't finish. She spots the VCR on his desk and, apparently not recognizing it, asks what it is. Steele pauses in his reading, looks at her, and pointing to the VCR, tells her, "Investigative tool. Could break a case someday."
Yeah.
Mildred doesn't challenge him, although it's apparent that he's simply trying to justify his purchase of a toy, apparently having missed out on his chance to buy a boat.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Mildred tells Steele that there's a gentleman in reception who's really upset. And Steele tries to pawn the man off onto Laura with the excuse that she's the expert at dealing with distressed gentlemen. Mildred reminds him that she's finishing up the security contract. And besides, the man wants to see Steele specifically. Frustrated, Steele curtly says, "Please, Mildred, I'm right in the middle of..." But he's interrupted by Laura, coming in from the middle office, saying that she needs a signature on a number of documents. Steele, sensing his opportunity to rid himself of further interruption, tells her that he's glad she's there because they have a client outside. Okay? Then he turns back, waves his hands, dismissing the women, turning back to his manual. Mildred leaves and closes the door behind her. And with a chastising look and tone of voice, Laura tells Steele that she sincerely hopes that agency funds did not pay for this, as she indicates the VCR. And Steele...
First of all, yes, of course they did. Of course they did. He was going to buy a freaking boat with agency funds. Does she honestly think he's not going to spring for a VCR with agency money?
Well, she could have thought, well, we had that talk after he tried to buy the boat.
Well, I mean,
and
okay. But there are two other things for this.
Okay.
One, somebody in the Facebook group suggested that Steele has ADHD, and I was sort of like jokingly, and I'm not here to psychoanalyze or diagnose a fictional character, but the minute that person said that, I thought, oh my God, yes, because his character has all the telltale sort of classical ADHD symptoms, specifically for men, because it presents differently in men and women. And for men, more hyperactive and impulsive symptoms like interrupting others, restlessness, high-risk behaviors. I mean, the man is a con man. He's constantly doing high-risk stuff. Poor organization, forgetfulness, emotional reactivity, acting without thinking. I mean, the dude almost bought a boat.
Now you're getting personal.
Sorry. Hey, if it helps, I fit all the...
With the possible exception of the organized part, because I try to be really organized, but I'm about 95% unsuccessful.
But, I mean, I check all the boxes for ADHD in women, so it's fine. It's fine. But, like, if you look at that, this is Steele. The man almost bought a boat on a whim. Now he's got... somebody in the comments said if the shoe fits. Now you've got...
He'd walk off with it. Yeah, I know.
Not only does he have a VCR, but people often forget, too, that the ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactive. They focus on the hyperactive part, and they forget about the attention part, which, yes, we're inattentive for some things, but for things we're really interested in, we hyper-focus.
Yes.
Exactly. There's a hyper-focus. So Steele is hyper-focused on this VCR. And it's not until things get really serious in this episode that he kind of blinks out of that and starts to actually pay attention to the case. And this is him in pretty much every episode where he's got his sights focused on something else. It really has to be something major to get him to shift that focus, because right now he's into his manual. He just wants to read his manual. Like, that's his special interest. Leave him alone. Yeah. And ADHD people, we also have special interests. Steele is obsessed with old movies. This is him. Like, this is... So yeah, I just found that really funny when I'm watching this. I'm like, yeah, he really does have ADHD. But also, any idea what brand this VCR is? Because I was trying to look closely at the box and I couldn't really.
Yeah, it's a fictitious brand.
Okay.
APL.
Okay. I wondered if it was an actual.
That's those three big letters at the top. That's not a real
an actual brand, or if they were just making one up. Because
just making one up.
I had a Telefunken when we were. Have you ever heard of that brand, Telefunken?
Yes.
Yeah. So I looked it up because that thing lasted forever, and I mean forever. This thing, I remember my parents bought it in the 80s, and I still had it well into my 20s. So this thing did not die. It was a German machine, and according to what I've got here, when I looked it up, it would have been roughly $850 to $1,300 in
Brand new,
our
yeah.
money. Yeah, brand new. So my parents, I didn't realize they spent some money on this thing because apparently this brand had some serious pedigree. Like there was, it was considered to be one of the higher quality brands of VCR. It said being a strong brand in high-end audio professional gear. It wasn't like top tier, but it was pretty good. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, and I wondered what
VHS, I
brand.
presume.
Yeah, VHS. Beta was the better system, but it was more expensive, and there weren't as many movies that were released on Beta. So that's kind of they shot themselves in the foot a bit with that.
Well, they really shot themselves in the foot when they sold VHS to Matsushita, who's the parent company of Panasonic. Sony actually developed both systems, and they sold off the VHS because it was a lower quality system, a lower quality mechanism, but it was cheaper to manufacture, and therefore the end result of the machine was less expensive. And so people tended to buy that based on price.
Yeah.
It also wasn't as high a quality of an image as the Beta. In fact, commercial use, like news, that sort of thing, they all used a Beta system.
That's not surprising.
So anyway,
sorry.
Where were we? Back into the episode.
ADHD rabbit holes. That's where we were. And Mr. Steele is the king because he definitely is he's got ADHD.
Anyway, Steele, adopting the tactic of the best defense is a strong offense, tells Laura that it's an excellent investment, explaining that they get an immediate 10% tax investment credit, then depreciates over a period of 5 years. And she picks up a smaller box sitting on the top of the larger box that held the VCR. She holds that other box up and asks, "Gone with the wind?" And snatching the box from her, Steele excuses it as merely a means of ensuring that the machine is functioning properly.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, whatever we can get away with. And as he's saying this, Mildred, of course, is bringing in their new client, the man we saw earlier on the street. And she's bringing him into Steele's office and introduces him as Lester Shane. Steele is putting on his suit jacket and coming out from behind his desk to greet their client. And then he introduces himself and Laura and states that Mildred had said that Lester was upset about something and Steele and Laura are here to settle the matter. And grinning, he asks Lester what the problem is. And shaking his head, Lester simply says, "I'm dead." Steele drops his grin, and Laura gets wide-eyed at the obviously confounding statement.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Lester hands Steele one of the newspapers and an obituary is circled. Thank you. Reading, late of Gilroy, survived by loving wife Sharon Shane, son Robert and daughter Louise. Private ceremony, immediate family only. Laura, telling Lester that she doesn't mean to minimize his concern, begins to minimize his concerns.
Yeah,
saying that it's just rather obvious that it's a mistake, isn't it? Well, that's what he thought, young lady, Lester explains. But the folks at the newspaper said they had a copy of his death certificate, so they wouldn't listen to his protestations to the contrary.
Do newspapers get death certificates sent to them? I thought if you wanted to place an obit, now you probably just go online, but I thought back then you would have just called them up and said, so-and-so died, here are the details, can you print this? It paid them the money. I didn't realize there was that they actually needed a copy of a death certificate, or is that just a plot device?
I think it's just a plot device. I think normally death notices were just simply placed by the family.
Yeah, like you're just taking it on
like a classified ad, you know.
Yeah, the honor system. You tell me this person's dead, I'm going to put that in there.
That's right.
The other thing that kind of made me think about for this episode is that it's surprising that it took this long for anybody to notice that something was really off about this whole scheme. Because have you ever seen that episode of MASH where Hawkeye is falsely reported dead?
I probably have, but I don't remember it. It's been so long since I watched MASH.
So in that episode, at first he takes it as a joke, and he like he does. He sets up his own wake,
and he doesn't get his pay.
But he doesn't get his pay, and then his father is contacted, and then their death benefits are sent to his dad or something, and so it obviously snowballs into something very serious. And by the end of it, there's this really emotional moment where he kind of gives up. He gets on the ambulance or what have you, and decides he's not going to help, and then wounded come in, and he gets up and goes back to work. So it just made me think, like, if this happened, for some people, they might not even notice it. Who reads the obits every day? Not necessarily not necessarily everybody, but others, maybe your insurance, your actual insurance gets canceled, or maybe your work notices, and like this could have. I'm just surprised it took this many people before somebody stumbled onto an actual issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, and of course the potential for the snowball is that your credit cards get canceled.
Yeah,
so
your credit cards,
you have no
bank
way
accounts.
of buying food or anything like that. But I think it's probably was less of a likelihood or less of a possibility back then than it is now, from the standpoint that everything is done electronically these days.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, I think you had to actually go get physical copies of stuff and submit it to all these things. You had to submit it to the life insurance company. You had to submit it to the bank in order to get access to that money if your name wasn't on the account, but you were named as an executor or designated as an executor.
Right.
So there was a lot more complication involved, and so it probably wouldn't be. Although these days you still have to do a lot of stuff on paper. My wife has been fighting with the state of Oregon for years because there's a vehicle title in my father-in-law and mother-in-law's name. My mother-in-law is now deceased, and my father-in-law is trying to sell this vehicle, and he needs to get the title, but he needs to get it in his name because he can't sign as his late wife. But every time they submit the paperwork to DMV in Oregon, they kick you back saying, well, we need this person's signature. Well, we sent you a copy of the death certificate. And they've always got some reason why they can't issue this, despite that the fact that all their demands have been satisfied multiple times.
That's extremely frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah. Bureaucracy. They should get Mildred in there. Mildred would clear that up in a heartbeat.
It's still, but yeah, with everything being electronic these days, I would say it's more likely to happen without people immediately doing anything to cause it to happen. But yeah. Oh, I had a thought. Brain fart. Where did it go? Come on.
Oh, he's looking for it. He's looking for it.
Oh. It's gone.
The hamster was running, and then the hamster fell over.
No, the wheel fell off.
That's okay. It'll come back when it's no longer relevant.
You know what's really frustrating is to be spending 3 or 4 or 5 minutes thinking about something, and you're right in the middle of a thought about that thing.
It's just gone.
Well, no, the thought's not gone. What you were thinking about is gone.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, I know I've been thinking about something for the last 5 minutes, but what was it? I have no clue. It's just gone. Anyway.
ADHD.
Maybe I shouldn't admit that. Maybe that, some guys in the white coats come pick me up. Anyway,
they're already there.
Let's see. Yes, folks at the Pro newspaper had a copy, wouldn't listen. Steele admits that, yes, it is a bit odd, and then asks, well, why not just let it pass since he's definitely not dead? Well, that's exactly what he thought, young man, but it ain't that simple. He's in town on business, but his appointments keep canceling on him. They seem to think he's dead now. He called his hometown, and it seems that somebody phoned them with the news, and everyone's crying and all, and if he drives back real fast, he might make it in time for his memorial service. Kind of a snowball effect, Laura observes. And ruefully, Lester admits that he's gotten to the point where he's wondering if maybe he really is dead, and that he's been pinching himself a lot to check, and it's been quite a shock to his system, and he thinks he'd like them to figure out what's going on before it goes any further. And Laura gives a nod as Steele dismissively begins, saying that he's sure it's just a bureaucratic snafu. But Laura starts to get he's done it to me again look as Steele continues and says that Miss Holt will unravel this in short order. And then he concludes with, under my watchful eye, of course. Yeah. She turns her head at him and gives him a, seriously, you're going to do that look?
Yep.
Well, next they're at the newspaper office, and Steele and Laura approach a woman at a desk talking on the phone. And we can tell from her conversation that it is the obituaries desk. And as we exchanged notes earlier in the week about this, that is an atrocious sweater. It looks like somebody cut up little bits of fabric or sweater material and just kind of stitched them on. It's like, it's
like
ugly.
It's like they knew of your sweater obsession and thought, let's make it bad. Let's torture
yes.
Eric with the worst sweater and ruin sweater porn forever.
Yes. Well, no, that one would never even get made as a movie.
Yeah, that's fair. This is a hideous sweater. This is truly. I don't. I'm trying to fathom the logic behind going into a store and seeing that on the rack and going, I'm going to buy that and I'm going to wear it.
Hey, it was the 80s. People did strange things.
Anyway,
they bought strange things. A chia pet. I mean, a clay thing that you put.
Hey, I had one of those.
Pet rocks. Pet rocks, for goodness sake.
That's true.
You can go out into the river and find a rock. Anyway, the woman on the phone really isn't paying attention to Laura and Steele, but then she concludes her call and looks up, and she's surprised, asking Steele, "Don't I know you?" And he flatly introduces himself and Laura. The woman ponders and then with recognition hollers, "Steele, of course. Yeah. I just did your obituary last week."
That's awkward.
Well, yeah. I mean, Steele is quite taken aback, and he looks at Laura, who's rolling her eyes in disbelief. And addressing the woman, Miss Carter, as it turns out, he asks if she's being a bit hasty about that. And she waves her hand in the air and enthusiastically says, "Routine. We do obits on prominent people just in case they suddenly buy it. I remember you because I had one heck of a time digging up background info." She leans forward, leaning on her chin and on her fist, and conspiratorially asks, "Why is that anyway? Come on, I can keep a secret."
I bet this is probably even more grating on Laura if they're because we often do obits on prominent people in case they suddenly buy it.
And unidentified woman.
Yeah, no one's doing her obit prematurely.
Yeah. They just pull out a generic one for her. Yes. Yeah. So Steele stands there with a stupid grin on his face. So Laura takes over, telling the woman that apparently she has listed an obituary for a man who isn't dead. His name is Lester Shane. Barely controlling her laughter, Miss Carter assures her that the man really is dead. She got the death certificate in the mail that yesterday morning. And as a matter of fact, some joker had called her that morning pretending to be this Shane guy. Well, Laura assures Miss Carter that Lester Shane is very much alive. Well, Miss Carter gives Laura a very annoyed eye roll.
Yeah, she's irritated now.
I mean, how dare you question me? I am a professional, and professionals are never wrong. And she opens up a file folder on her desk, pulls out a document, and hands it to Laura. Well, it's a death certificate for Lester Arthur Shane, Jr.
So, according to the script, did you read the script for this one?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I found it interesting that. Well, it's in the directions. So we didn't actually see what it says on the death certificate, but according to the script, it says complete with demographics, including name, occupation, garlic farmer, and cause of death, natural causes. I always find it interesting when that's listed as the cause of death because that covers such a wide range. Mm-hmm. It doesn't actually say what you died of. There's lots of ways to die that are natural, and Lester being 40s isn't exactly old enough to heal. I mean, yes, anyone could have a heart attack at any time, I suppose, but still, it's kind of interesting that that's what they went with, and not heart attack or something more specific.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can list on a death certificate that are technically correct, but technically incorrect.
Yeah.
Died of blood loss. Yeah, well, that kind of happens when you get 3 bullets through the heart, Was it really the blood loss that did it? Well, maybe not technically, but technically, yeah,
Yep.
Anyway, so yes, it's a death certificate for Lester Arthur Shane, Jr., issued by the Weil Mortuary at 1621 Comstock Boulevard. Well, she hands it to Steele and then asks Miss Carter, Weil Mortuary sent the information and asked her to place this obit? Yep, she responds immediately. Laura asks for a copy, but Miss Carter says, no, company policy. Okay, wait a second. Death certificates, I think, are public records.
I would think so. That was one of my questions, because you can look them up, can you not?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to pay for a copy because, they've got these rules about, well, we've got to be paid for our time and effort of pushing that button sends it to the printer. And that's like $25 worth of effort on who are you, George Jetson? You get paid to just sit there and push a button. But yeah, I think it's public records.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we've already established that a newspaper wouldn't necessarily need a death certificate anyway. So
right.
this whole bit is kind of like we're hand waving it because we have to.
And it's not like it's a confidential source, where you're deep throat and you're leaking out news and information about what's going on in the White House. But no, we can't give that information away. That's a death certificate.
He's
anyway,
a garlic farmer.
Steele leans forward over her desk and in an intimate tone suggests that.
Wow. Talk about using what you've got for good,
Yes.
Like just that whole, it goes to show that he knows that he's good looking. He knows he's got an effect on women.
And he knows how to manipulate them.
And he knows how to use it.
Well, he suggests that inasmuch as her file on him is somewhat incomplete, what would she say to a discreet trade? Dinner sometime in exchange for the death certificate? And of course, Laura does another eye roll.
Her eyes roll so high that they pretty much go like right up to the ceiling and back, all the way back.
Point right up the back of her head. Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Well, smitten and giggling like a schoolgirl, Miss Carter readily agrees. And as they walk away, copy of the death certificate in hand, Laura murmurs that he has to admit that it's a bit strange, and Steele concurs, albeit reluctantly. Well, Laura tells him to relax. Scarlet and Red aren't going anywhere. But if it will make him happy, they can split up to try to resolve the case more quickly. And of course, Steele likes that plan. Just curiously, Laura asks, if he's really planning on taking that poor girl out to dinner. Steele stiffly puts his arm around Laura's shoulder and then bravely tells her they'll make it a threesome.
Yeah. I mean, it was more her, like, I don't even think it was a question. It was more that she kind of felt sorry for this poor girl because she looks and she says, "You're not really taking this poor girl out to dinner." Like,
yeah. Well, it was more rhetorical. Yeah. But it was still kind of a question. But I won't comment on Steele's response, but I don't think that's what Laura had in mind either.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Next, at the coroner's office, a medical examiner is busy with a temporary resident. There's a loud tap from a large observation window behind him, and the man turns to see Steele standing on the other side of the glass. The man holds up his blood-covered hands, gloved, fortunately, says that his hands are full at the moment. And through the glass, we hear a muffled comment from Steele that it isn't imperative that they shake. He only needs a moment. The man stands, pulls off his gloves, washes and dries his hands, and then steps out into the hallway to join Steele. Steele tells the man, a Dr. Carl Rosfeld by name, that he appreciates his time, and Rosfeld asks what he can do for Steele. Steele pulls out a death certificate, Lester's, shows it to Rosfeld, and asks if he remembers signing it. Rosfeld seems to mull over the name, and then Steele prompts him that it would have been about 2 days earlier. And Rosfeld gives a slight shake of his head and informs Steele that there would be no way he could have signed it 2 days ago because he had been in a conference in North California.
So we know later on that is his signature and that he was part of this cover-up. So is he lying to Steele here and they just didn't check up on his alibi? Or
I'm imagining that they sent him a stack of
okay.
And
that's what I figured.
I'll just sign these. I've got 20 minutes. I can sign a bunch of them right now. Yeah.
And that's why he's able to have an alibi for it being signed. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, puzzled, Steele asks if Rosfeld is saying that this certificate is a forgery. And the coroner says that he can't conceive of why, but yes, the signature isn't his. Then, after a brief pause, asks what it's all about. Steele, his thoughts seemingly somewhere else, responds that he wishes he knew. Came back to me. Got it.
Oh.
Okay. You were talking about how long it would, how it took so long for people to notice.
Yes. Yeah.
I should have looked this up, but I didn't think about it until you and I were talking just now, and you said that there was a deal a number of years ago. I don't remember. It's probably decades now. A guy had noticed something in one of his accounts. I don't remember if it was like a phone bill or what it was. And he noticed that there was like a 1 cent discrepancy that kept coming up. And it's just a penny. What's the big deal? Well, it annoyed him. And so he started pursuing it. And ultimately, his investigation led to a multi-million-dollar scam where people were skimming, some business was skimming money off of accounts by doing it either 1 or 2 cents at a time, or maybe fractional values of a penny. So, you go into a gas station and it says, your fuel is 295.99 cents per gallon or per liter or whatever. Well, 0.9 tenths of a, 9/10 of a cent. How do you do that? You can't do that. Well, what they were apparently doing was they were rounding that up to the full penny,
right?
Which basically disappears in the midst of all this. But that fraction of a penny, they were able to shuffle off, and they were absconding with millions of dollars, and it had been going on for a long time, and nobody noticed it till this one guy noticed this very, very slight discrepancy in his billing. Anyway.
That's crazy. That's cool.
It is. Yeah, back to the episode. In the meantime, Laura arrives at what appears to be an abandoned building with the remnant markings of the Weil mortuary on front. She gets out of the Rabbit, walks up to the doors, and unsurprisingly finds them locked. She looks around, and then, trying to appear casual, walks to the end of the building and slips down the side. The small fenced-in area, which is filled with seemingly abandoned items, stacks of cardboard boxes, large bags of lawn debris, a wheelbarrow with some junk items piled into it, a couple of beat-up louvered partitions and the like. As she's walking through that, she comes upon a window set fairly high in the wall, and there's apparently something there usable for her to stand on in order to reach the window. So she stands on it, looks inside, and as she's doing this, there are sounds of telephones ringing and muted voices coming from inside. And as she peers in through the dirty glass, she sees a large number of women, some sitting at desks, some standing in front of the desks, others moving to various positions. But behind them all is a bank of filing cabinets.
This was an interesting choice, to have it be entirely women. Not a single man working there, apparently. I'm not sure why. I guess maybe because it's secretarial work, so therefore it's... But I don't know. It was just an odd sort of... decision, script-wise, to have it be
at that time, and even now, the majority of people in particular professions tends to skew one direction or another. I mean, there's some professions where it's not that way, but secretarial still tends to skew female.
Yeah, no, so, I agree with that. It was just an interesting thing that because this is fraudulent. Do these women know they're processing false forms under probably not, but
no.
It's I don't know. And also I know that the coroner's office isn't on it. So that makes sense why they would process this from a mortuary that's no longer open, but wouldn't the paper think something was off about getting death notices from a mortuary that no longer operates?
Who checked?
Well, I don't know. Newspapers are supposed to check, I guess.
No, I mean, especially now, but even back then, a lot of stuff, it was just, okay, got it, put it in. Oh, got that? Yeah, put it in. Oh, what? Yeah, put it in.
Or they run the risk of somebody who...
They can deny it. Hey, we just reprinted what somebody else told us.
Fair enough.
We're not responsible. Not our job.
Okay.
So, but yeah. Now, as far as the women not knowing that what they're doing is fraudulent, I mean, there are people that do stuff in companies all the time, and what they're doing is illegal or fraudulent or whatnot, but they are not the ones that are committing the acts. They're just processing papers. They're just you're a secretary. You type the letter. Never mind the fact that the letter is intended to commit a fraud. It's just all you know is you're typing the letter. That's why that myopic look of things. When people say you don't need to know what's going on, you just need to know how to do your job is kind of a fatal flaw in a lot of things.
Weil, the mortuary that gets stuff done.
The mortuary that buries people that aren't dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, After a moment, Laura steps down, and then she moves to a nearby door and gently touches the knob, trying to turn it. But suddenly, the hand of a man slaps down on her shoulder, causing her to let out a startled squeal and then turn around. A blonde man in a suit, who shall henceforth be known as Mr. Hare, asks what she thinks he's doing.
I had him in my notes just as blonde man because he's named in the script. Rob O'Connell is his name in the script, but at no point did they ever actually say his name in the episode. So I just went with blonde man. Big blonde man.
I went with Mr. Hare.
Or actually, anyway, now I just realized that my acronym is not a good one, Big Blonde Man, because it BBM also stands for something else. So, oof. Okay, whoops. Yeah, we'll go with yours. Mr. Hare is better than BBM.
Anyway, he asks what she thinks he's doing, and stumbling over her words slightly, Laura says she's looking for Weil Mortuary. The man, clearly suspicious, says that Weil Mortuary closed down 2 years ago. And Laura, feigning disappointment, says that her Aunt Sophie had always had a liking for this place. Oh, seriously? That's what you're going to go with?
Who has mortuary preferences? Does she have like a little, it's like you know how people get like wedding, when they plan their wedding, they have their little planning book where it's like, I have this venue for inspiration. Does she have a mortuary or a funeral inspiration book? Was it?
No, actually, she goes around to funerals at mortuaries to attend them and get the free goodies and
taking notes.
She's gone to all these different ones, and this is the one she likes the best because they've got the best food. Anyway, her Aunt Sophie always had a liking for this place, bless her freshly departed soul. And then, not quite knowing when to stop, she asked, well, what's going on here now? The man says, well, they process forms. And seemingly intent on further rousing the man's suspicion, Laura asks, well, what kind of forms? And unhelpfully, the man says, all kinds.
Yeah. To be fair, okay, if he wanted to just get rid of her, and obviously he doesn't know she's a private investigator, but if he wanted to make sure that she's not going to ask any more questions, he maybe should have made up something that sounded vaguely plausible. Like we process official city documents, they're processed here. It's a general office, something like that. Something that sounds logical, that if Laura wasn't a private investigator, she'd be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Have a good day.
Yeah, because there are businesses that their function is to process paperwork for other businesses.
Exactly. So instead, obviously she's a private investigator. She's going to investigate anyway, but this is going to make her even more suspicious. We process forms. Yes. What kind of forms? All kinds of forms. Cool.
Anyway, back at the office, Steele is seated at his desk again, holding a pair of wires while pondering the VCR and its indecipherable manual.
It's not that hard.
Meanwhile, Laura is pacing. She ponders, someone wants to create the illusion that Lester Shane is dead. Why? She then asks for Steele's thoughts on the matter, but Steele, not paying any attention to Laura, kind of offhandedly asks, if you were two extraneous wires, where would you want to be connected?
Okay. First of all, why is he worrying about this now? There's nothing to connect it to. He's nowhere near his TV.
Well, that's true.
I mean, and I don't know if they were trying on purpose to make it seem like this was some really complicated thing. But you're talking about a total of 3 wires, maybe, to do this. It's not that complicated.
Well, it wasn't even like that, as I recall. Most of them, well,
I have a list of instructions. You want me to do it? Can I do it?
No, I'm just, let me say this first, would you please? Okay. Usually there were 2 different ways that you could hook those things up. One was through a coax.
Yep.
Which is just a round cable. It screws in one side and then theoretically screws into the other. Although for some older TVs, they did not have a coax connection. All they had was the 2-wire connection for your either your pole antenna that you would just turn up and pull out off the case of the TV, or large overhead antenna that was mounted to the top of the house. It came down with a couple wires, and you connected them that way. So you would need a converter. It was something that the coax cable screwed into, and it would convert the cable signal, basically what it was at that point, to a signal that the TV could pick up through those connections, because it converted it. And then the other option was using RCA cables. You had typically one for video and then two for the audio, one for the left channel, one for the right channel.
So I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the comment here. Laura could connect a VCR in 30 seconds, but she'd never do it for him.
That's probably true. That's probably true. So I'm envisioning Steele looking at these and trying to figure out how to make all of them work simultaneously.
Yeah.
And he's running into a conflict, because where he's trying to connect one thing, he's already got something connected. And it's like, okay, well, now what do I do with these then?
But they're on his desk and there's no TV, so he does nothing. Well, he can do nothing with them right now.
He's planning it out in advance, so that when he gets to the point of actually doing it, he knows, and it's just wham, bam, thank you, sir.
ADHD. But in all seriousness, you just ruined my whole list of instructions here, because because what I had written,
anyway.
was here's how people typically hooked up a VCR in 1985. What you'll need: the VCR and its power cord. TV. Many TVs then only had an antenna/coax input, and some late 80s sets had RCA phono jacks. Coaxial cable, usually the TV antenna lead. Optional RCA patch cables. Yellow equals video, white and red equals audio. A VCR instruction manual is helpful but not required. So basic method number 1. This works when the TV only has an antenna input. Unplug the TV and VCR. Safe habit. Connect the antenna/cable to the VCR's antenna in, or VHF/UHF in. If the antenna was previously plugged into the TV, unplug it and plug it into the VCR. Connect a coax from the VCR's RF output to TV or to TV to the TV's antenna input. Turn everything on. Set the VCR's output channel to channel 3 or 4. There's usually a switch or tiny selector on the VCR. On the TV, tune into channel 3 or 4. The channel will now show whatever the VCR is playing. To record live TV, put the VCR and record. That's it. We're done. Better quality if your TV has RCA inputs, okay? Some TVs in mid to late 80s had RCA jacks, or you might have had a separate RF modulator. This was ours. This is what ours had, because this is how I remember doing it. Locate the VCR's video output and audio output jacks, usually grouped color-coded: yellow video, white audio left, red audio right. Connect these to the TV's corresponding RCA inputs: video in, yellow, audio input white or red. On the TV, select the AV input mode if it has one, or tune to the TV's input that corresponds. Some older TVs still required you to use channel 3 or 4 unless the TV had a labeled aux auxiliary video output. Play a tape. You'll get a much clearer picture than the RF coax. So, yeah. And then quick troubleshooting. No picture. Check the TV is on the correct input, or channel 3 or 4 if using RF. Snow or static. Poor antenna connection or wrong input. Sound but no picture, which we know happens later on. Check the RCA plugs and correct color jacks. Make sure the VCR is actually in play. Only fuzzy image. Try switching VCR output from channel 3 or 4 or vice versa, or use composite if possible. And then if cable TV box is present, pre-digital era cable box, VCR and ant in, VCR RF out. And then extra bits of 1985 flavor. Many VCRs still had mechanical channel selectors or simple electronic tuners. Stereo VCRs were just starting to appear. Many were mono audio, one with white jack only. So I just solved his problem in like a minute. It's not that hard, Steele. I don't know why this takes an entire episode and Lester is back there fiddling around with the 4-foot screen. I just don't get it.
I've got a comment about Lester. I didn't put it in my notes, but I remember it. And I thought at the time that I thought of it, it might be a little bit, somebody might take exception to it. But when we get there, I'll comment on that, because it has to do with him having issues. Steele, he's not really necessarily all that technically adept, although he's broken into electronic alarm systems. So I guess maybe it's
But that's something he knows, right?
Yes, that's true.
And I think the commenter is right here. Laura probably could take 2 seconds to look at that manual and be like, oh yeah, boom, 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 it goes here.
Yeah.
She's not going to do it because he's ticking her off.
Anyway, Laura is annoyed at his lack of concentration and focus.
Yeah.
And she runs to the desk and declares that she promises to buy him the entire MGM library on video cassette if he would please put the manual down and concentrate on the matter at hand.
That's going to cost more than the boat. Okay, that is going to cost more than the boat.
Well, Steele loves to hear that, so he bolts upright, tosses the manual onto the desk, closes the tape carriage on the machine, says, "Deal."
Yeah.
Laura sits on the edge of the desk, and both are silent for a moment until Steele suddenly declares, "DOA, Edmund O'Brien, Luther Adler, United Artists, 1949. Then he summarizes the plot. O'Brien plays a businessman who comes to the police at the beginning of the picture to report a murder, his own. Somehow he's been poisoned and doesn't understand why. And the connection with Lester, Laura prompts, unable to make the connection herself. Steele isn't really able to make the connection either, claiming it's a bit fuzzy. However, DOA is available on video cassette. They can always buy a copy, have a look at it, run it, see where it leads them.
He never knows when to give up, because she basically, when she said she's going to buy him the MGM library, that's basically like offering a kid candy for breakfast if they do their homework. And instead of just accepting that, he's pushing it that one step further.
Yeah, really. So anyway, Laura sighs impatiently, stands and resumes her pacing. And after a moment, she says, "Life insurance." Steele's attention, having been momentarily drawn back to the VCR, responds yes, in a way that suggests that he really didn't hear what she said. He's just kind of automatically making an expected response. And Laura, not really paying attention to the fact that he's not paying attention, says somebody's trying to collect on Lester's policy. She turns to go to the outside office door, and Steele is again pondering the VCR and the errant wires. Laura opens the door and asks Lester to come into the office with them. He enters, she closes the door, then she puts her hand on his shoulder and explains that this is very important. Does he have a life insurance policy? Nope, but at one time he thought about getting one. Steele, again holding the VCR manual, asks Mr. Shane if he's wealthy. Comfortable, he says. Steele tosses the manual away. Happily married, he asks. Well, happy as anyone can be after 22 years. And
I said 27. Sorry, not really relevant. Doesn't matter. You're right. 22. My brain was. Where did I get 27?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's a funnier number. Anyway.
Maybe it was in the script.
Might have been.
He says 27 in the script. Yeah, that's it. Okay. I just looked.
Okay.
Weird.
Anyway, Steele gives a kind of sardonic chuckle and then says, "Gaslight." Laura and Lester look blankly at Steele, prompting him to clarify. Charles Boyer, Ingrid Bergman, MGM 1944. Boyer attempts to drive Ingrid crazy so he can have her committed and finally gain her estate. Oh, it's also available on video cassette. Well, she's going to buy him the whole MGM library. That was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah,
and Laura gives him a really look at that last bit. Well, Lester dismisses that theory, saying that his wife doesn't have to drive him nuts. She's already got everything in her name.
I love the way he says this, though. It's so just matter. She didn't have to drive me nuts. It's already in her name.
Well, Steele is disappointed to hear that. Laura is frustrated, wishing they could somehow get into the wild mortuary when it's empty. Steele picks up the VCR and the Gone with the Wind collection off his desk and begins to put it all back into the box. Lester takes notice and comments that Steele's got himself one heck of a fine VCR there. And to clarify the details, asks, "Is that the one with the built-in MTS?" And Steele, somewhat taken aback, says he didn't realize that Lester was familiar with that sort of equipment. Lester says that he used to be an electrical engineer in Uncle Sam's Army before he went into agriculture. So what? That's got nothing to do with VCRs.
And also,
totally different types of electronics.
And also, I used to be a kid in the 80s, and I could figure this out. So I don't think that your credentials are all that necessary.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And besides which, they're not necessarily applicable to this. Anyway.
No.
As
but this is what I call man over hood syndrome. It is a verifiable phenomenon that when man over hood syndrome or under hood syndrome. Basically, you get a man open the hood of a car, and all of a sudden they just come. Like it just draws them from all points of the neighborhood, and they all end up under the hood going, "Oh yeah, that's a converter, that's a Cadillac converter, that's a this and that's a that." And most of them have no clue what they're talking about, but there's machinery under a hood. So this is man under hood syndrome, but with a VCR. Sorry, that was offensive, wasn't it? Tell me I'm wrong, though. Tell me I'm wrong.
We have such weird conversations here. Anyway, as Laura continues to pace, Steele slyly asks Lester if he happens to know the proper method of hooking up one of these Wonder videos to one of those large 4-foot screens. And he gives a cautious glance over his shoulder at Laura as he says this last, because apparently he wants to keep that large 4-foot screen a secret from her because she doesn't know.
Also bought with agency funds. That's probably why.
Oh, undoubtedly, yes.
Although we get the impression later on that, no, he did purchase it from Monroe, but Monroe replaces it. Never mind. Ignore what I'm just about to say.
Lester says that he did it for his nephew the previous weekend and says that it'll only take him 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I looked that up.
Oh, the expression?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The meaning is very soon or very quickly. The origin comes from the observation that lamb's tails can shake very fast, particularly when suckling. It's an Americanism that dates back to the early 1800s and was popularized in the UK during World War I.
Interesting.
And it can be shortened to 2 shakes or I'll be there in 2 shakes.
I've heard that too. That's cool.
We invented it. The Brits made it popular. Anyway, Steele hands Lester the case containing Gone with the Wind, then picks up the box with the VCR, telling Lester, "Let's go." Well, Laura, who has apparently not been paying attention, notices them leaving, but since she didn't hear what was being exchanged between the two men, asks inquisitively, "Mr. Steele?" wondering what he's doing. As he reaches the door, he tells Laura to keep pacing. He's sure that she'll come up with something. In the meantime, he says he's going to take Lester into protective custody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Pointing out that one can never be too careful with a man's life. And grinning, he adds, even if he is officially dead.
Yeah.
And hands on hip, Laura stares at them, a look of annoyance on her face. Well, outside, walking down the sidewalk, Steele is still carrying the box with the VCR, and the two men are talking. Well, why aren't they in the limo? I don't know. Fred's day
Good
off.
question.
Maybe they cut back because they didn't get all their money back from the pigs. I don't know.
Are they walking to his like, does he live that close to the, I guess he must.
I don't know. I didn't think so, but anyway, they're walking and they're talking. And Lester is saying that he's from Gilroy, California, garlic capital of the U.S. of A., and that he knows more about garlic than a man should. Well,
how much should one know about garlic?
Just enough to use it in the kitchen, or how to open the little bottle and shake it out. Anyway, during the course of their conversation, they come to an intersection where they begin to cross the street. And Steele observes a car speeding toward them, making no sign of slowing down. Steele hollers at Lester to look out. He throws the box with the VCR at the car, simultaneously turning to shove Lester back and to move back himself to avoid getting hit.
Can I just interrupt you for just a second? I just did a quick Google because I had to know if this was a real place. And Gilroy, USA is a real place. It is actually famous for its garlic. It is called the garlic capital of the world. Apparently, it is a major center for garlic processing, and its iconic Gilroy Garlic Festival has become a major event in the city's history. You can smell garlic in Gilroy, apparently anywhere you go, because the processing plant is located there, even though other areas have surpassed it in terms of garlic production volume. There is the Gilroy Garlic Festival, which is a well-known food festival centered on garlic. I mean, you got to think that, like, nobody is getting any if they go to that festival, you know? Like, they're going to come home and their wives or partners are going to be like, "Yeah, honey, you stink. Go away." Anyway, it was apparently paused, but after a 3-year hiatus, it returned in 2025. It is home to businesses that sell various garlic products, including fresh garlic, pickled garlic, and apparently something called black garlic. And it also has a garlic-themed ride at Gilroy Gardens Family Theme Park called the Garlic Twirl. So... that's something that we now all know.
Yeah, I think we now know too much about.
Well,
Gilroy.
Yeah. Apparently, you can know too much about garlic, and he knows more than a man should. So now we all know what is black garlic. Now I have to know that.
I don't know.
Black garlic is apparently regular garlic that has been aged. using low heat and high humidity, which turn the clothes black and gives them a sweet balsamic and umami flavor with a soft chewy Ew. Okay, anyway, I didn't need to know that. Cool. Somebody else said no vampires in Gilroy. Yeah, that's right. Be safe.
Anyway, as I said, Steele throws the box at the car while he's trying to avoid and help Lester avoid being hit by the car.
Yeah.
But it's purely Hollywood moment that when the box hits the windshield of the car, it causes it to shatter. I don't think it would work that way, but
no, it'd bounce off.
Yeah, the box would kind of crumble and just kind of roll off.
Yeah.
Anyway, the two men end up on their backs in the street, and Steele is clearly very, very concerned about the VCR.
About the VCR, yeah. The VCR is totaled.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't even bother to look at the car to try to get the license plate, to observe any distinguishing features about it. Instead, as this car speeds off, he gets up, stumbles over to the mangled box, VCR inside, wires hanging out of it, picks it up, and with the distraught look on his face, cradles it like a sick child.
Oh, I know. Poor guy.
In the office, Laura is on the phone with Steele. She informs him that it's impossible to trace a car with only 2 letters from the license plate, and she does this in a tone of voice that suggests that he should know better than to even ask such a stupid question.
To be fair, did they not have the same back and forth when she was shot at in Seal of Approval, and she was down in the mud and didn't get the... Like, he could totally use that to his benefit, is all I'm saying.
That's true. That is true.
You could be like, well, you didn't get the license plate, so ha.
But she's a trained detective, would be his response. And,
that is also true. Yeah.
Anyway, Steele, who is on the phone in the limo, he's finally in the limo with Lester next to him, snaps back. Fine, next time I'll let them hit Lester, but I'll get the entire plate. Okay? And Lester gives Steele a look like, what?
I know. He's like, hey, wait. I didn't sign up for this.
Well, Laura finally gets around to asking how Lester's doing. I mean, women always criticize men. Well, you didn't ask how I was doing. All you did was ask about how the car is. Anyway, patting Lester on the arm, apparently intent to reassure him that he really won't let him get run over. Steele tells Laura that Lester's okay and that Steele's going to stash him at the apartment for safekeeping. As he hangs up, Lester is confused, wondering, no offense, but is this your neighborhood? Steele hesitantly says, no, slight detour. And he directs the friend of the day to a warehouse. There are several bay doors open, and boxes inside are stacked high, and a forklift is out there moving pallets of product. Steele gets out, taking the battered VCR box and deck with him, telling Lester that he won't be but a minute. Wandering inside, he tells one of the workers that he's looking for Monroe. Following the instructions, he moves through to an office near the back, where Monroe, sitting at a desk, is telling someone on the phone that, no, next week is not acceptable, my equivocating friend. And he notices Steele. I love the way Monroe talks. I mean, this is fantastic.
This is where my rabbit hole went. Okay. Remember, I messaged you and I said that I went down a rabbit hole and my mind is blown about this actor.
Okay.
Because I have been watching this show since I was a teenager. And he's a fan favorite. Monroe is a fan favorite among Steele watchers. If you go to the Facebook group, he's often featured in a lot of fan fictions he's brought back. He's a cool character that we all want to know more about. And I should have looked at the script first, but I'm kind of grateful I didn't until after, because then I wouldn't have gone down this rabbit hole, because he has... In the script, it says he has a British accent. His accent is not British. It's vaguely British, but if Richard Lawson's attempting to do a British accent here, it's not a very good one, because it's kind of like he sounds sort of British, pseudo British, but it just sounds more like he's upper class rather than British specifically. So I wondered if that was his actual accent or if he was putting on an accent, and so I started to look at him as an actor, like, who is this guy? Because I hadn't done that before. I'd seen him in a few things, but it was one of those things where I didn't really... mind blown, okay? Because not only is he Beyonce's stepdad, apparently, like, pop star Beyonce, like, massive... If you like it, you should have put a ring on it. He apparently married her mother after her and her actual dad split up. So he's Beyonce's stepdad, but he's also Bianca Lawson's actual father. And Bianca Lawson, I didn't believe the connection. Okay, so Bianca Lawson is somebody who has been in like a billion teen shows, and she's sort of famous for playing a teenager well into her 30s because she started out on Saved by the Bell, the new class in 1993. She was in My So-Called Life. She was in Sister Sister. She was in The Parenthood, and she played a major character in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, even though she only appeared for 3 episodes in the series. It was a really pivotal role. She was in Dawson's Creek. She was in Pretty Little Liars. She did one episode of Bones, Secret Life of the American Teenager, Vampire Diaries, etc. Her last turn as a teenager was in Pretty Little Liars, I believe, in which she was at that point 30, between the ages of 31 and 38, still playing a teenager. So, like, she, very youthful looking person. But there's sort of a bad episode or a bad accent connection too, because when she appears on Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Kendra, she is supposed to be Jamaican, but that accent is brutal. It is not good. So I had no idea that the two were connected, that he's Beyonce's stepdad and Bianca Lawson's father, and she had gone on to this very prolific career. Like, she's in all of these teen things that I have seen over the course of the years, but he's not British. He's in no way British. That accent was something he was attempting to make sound British. It didn't work. But,
British-ish.
Yeah. British-ish. So I went down the Richard Lawson rabbit hole and found Beyonce and Bianca Lawson and had no idea that there was a connection between any of them. And now I know all of this stuff, and now you do too. So you're welcome.
And did I really want to know?
Did
I really care?
But a few people that listen to us are probably going, "Oh, I know who Bianca Lawson is because she's in so many things," and just I didn't realize they were connected. So yeah.
Anyway, as he's on the phone, he
I
notices
do love the way he talks. Yeah.
Yes, he's He notices Steele and motions him in, and then he sternly tells the person on the other end of the phone, "By Saturday or no sale." Well, he hangs up, sighs, and then comments to Steele, "And we thought it was tough in the old days, Mick. It's a real jungle out there." He leans back, putting his hands behind his head, and asks Steele what he thinks of his investment so far. Did he invest agency money into this business?
He paid agency money for sure. So, I mean,
Does Mildred know about this? Was this in addition to the hogs?
I mean, Mildred doesn't have a leg to stand on here with her whole investing in the pigs situation. So my guess is that that's his fallback if he's get cornered on it. But
that's because she had ham this morning.
I think that
no leg to stand on.
Yeah. I think that Monroe means more about an investment in that he has shown that he's willing to help Monroe get his business off the ground by investing, i.e. buying something. I don't think he actually invested in the company per se.
I have to disagree.
It's kind of how I took it, but
I have to disagree.
Okay.
I think he's actually talking about a actual financial investment in the business. Anyway,
SteeleWatchers,
wrong, but still. Anyway.
Tell us who's right and how it's me. So.
Anyway, grinning and chuckling, Steele says that he wouldn't have believed it, surprised that Monroe was really serious about this. Volume discounts and personal service, Monroe pontificates, though with a touch of humor. Give the public what they want is my newfound credo. Yeah, right. As opposed to taking the public for what you want, Steele reminds him. Yeah. Seriously, Monroe affirms that that chapter of his life is closed, Mick. Like he told Steele, he's tired of running. And then with a tinge of hurt in his voice asks, "You didn't think I'd take your money and split, did you?" See, all these things here kind of imply that Steele has invested in the business.
See, I took it as just the VCR isn't cheap. So he just, you didn't think I took your money and just taken off.
It's
like you'd want a warranty and technical support. I don't know.
Anyway, Steele says it wouldn't have surprised him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And then putting a hand on his chest, Monroe laughs in mock offense. "Oh, you wound me, my friend." And Steele laughs.
I love these two. Too.
When you came to me, I saw an old maid who was down on his luck, needing a pat on the back and a few quid in his pocket. I hardly expected this. See, that line right there says Steele invested in the business. Anyway.
I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, I'm willing to admit defeat if I am.
Yay! I
wrong,
won! I am
I never
victorious!
said that. I never said that. However, if anyone wants to comment and defend me, or whatever, feel free.
Yon.
Probably.
Standing to walk around the desk, Monroe expounds. Reinvestment of profits, lines of credit, arbitrage.
I don't even know what that is. What is arbitrage? What is
Arbitrage. Let's look up arbitrage.
I'm looking it up.
Simultaneous buying and selling of securities, currencies, or commodities in different markets or in derivative forms in order to take advantage of differing prices for the same asset.
I understood none of that, but okay. It just sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah.
And he says it's a lot easier being a pirate on this side of the law than the one I'm used to.
He has a point there. Have you ever seen the movie Austin Powers?
I've got it. Haven't watched it yet.
Okay, so it's a parody spoof of James Bond.
Right.
And there's a scene where like the bad guy, who's basically supposed to be Blofeld, is defeated in the 60s, and they freeze him cryogenically, and they unfreeze him back in the 90s. And he's got all his minions around him, and one of his minions basically has gone legit in the time since he was frozen to now. And so when he starts talking about starting the evil business up again, his number one, who is literally called number one, or number two, I think it might be number two, because that's, who is number two, but he basically says something like, when he does his ransom thing, he's like, I will ransom it for $1 million. And he's like, we make that in a week. He's like, he goes like, it's actually much more profitable to be a legitimate businessman at this point. So yeah, like I think Monroe has a bit of a point here in the sense that sometimes these companies are pretty, especially if it's anything like Sam's Club or Costco or the Price Club. We had the Price Club. I don't know if that was a thing in the U.S., but it eventually became Costco in our areas. Those Price Clubs were converted to Costco's, and they were kind of like the same thing where you got these like volume. You could buy tons of stuff for wholesale price, which I'm assuming is what Monroe is doing. At least that's kind of what I got from it. But if he's selling it to department stores and stuff, that could be the
I think he's buying wholesale from either from the manufacturer direct or from distributors, and then he's selling direct to end user. But anyway, I still need to watch the Austin Power movies. I've got all three of them. One of the things that really piqued my interest about that was to learn that there is a reference in one of the movies to the Alan Parsons Project, which is a band I love. They're very juvenile and childish, so you have to kind of like have the mind of an 8-year-old when you watch it. But other than that, you mean kind of like the Bond movies? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. That just slipped out. Anyway, turning to the matter at hand, Monroe says that he suspects that what's really brought Steele down there has more to do with what's in the box than checking up on his humble servant.
What gave him that idea? He's standing there with a box that has like wires and broken bits sticking out of it. Like it literally looks like Steele took a sledgehammer to it and then brought it back. Can I have another one? This one's broken.
Yeah. I dropped my ice cream cone. Can I have a fresh one?
Yeah.
Anyway, Steele acknowledges a slight problem. Well, in the script, Monroe asks if his men delivered defective merchandise, to which Steele says, I certainly don't hold them accountable. Perhaps just a good break on a replacement. Well, then Monroe turns, picks up his phone, punches a couple buttons, then says, Oscar, bring an APL 475S to my office, please. He hangs up telling Steele, it's done. And my 4-foot screen? Ensconced in your bedroom as we speak, Monroe assures him.
I love this.
Steele hesitantly says, I don't remember giving you the keys to my flat. And Monroe chuckles and pats Steele on the shoulder. You're a busy man now, Mick. No need to bother you with mundane details.
I'm hoping he doesn't give this level of service to all his customers, because that could get him in some real trouble, I just bought this. How is it in my living room already?
Well, Steele grins appreciatively and commends Monroe that it's reassuring to see that he hasn't given up their old ways entirely.
Yeah.
Back at Steele's apartment, Steele is sitting on the foot of the bed, holding the package for Gone with the Wind, looking over the enclosed booklet, and half humming, not quite singing a tune, which he interrupts to call out to Lester, how long before Atlanta burns again, Lester? Across the room is the large TV for that era,
Yeah.
And behind that, we can see the shadow of Lester on the wall. Lester stands, a frown on his face, and announces that they've got a slight compatibility problem.
I don't think they do. I think they just have a slight moron problem, because it's not possible to have this much problem.
Well, I mean, it could be if they needed the RF converter to connect it up to the 2 screws on the back, and they didn't have that. But that's it. I mean, and that's like a $10 accessory down at Radio Shack at the time.
Exactly.
You know, so anyway, the front door buzzer sounds. Steele looks out of the room toward the front door, then back to Lester, encouraging him to persevere, mate.
This next line is one of my favorite lines in the series. I don't know why, but it's just, I chuckle every time.
Steele walks to the front door, opens it to be greeted by a sullen-looking Laura wearing her crime clothes and a flashlight tucked under her arm. A bit stark, don't you think? Steele casually asks. She advises him that it will be getting dark in an hour, causing Steele to grin and attempt to diffuse her attitude by humorously observing, "Nothing gets by you, Laura."
I don't know why, but that line kills me. And way back in the day when I first started watching this show, and fans had uploaded like little bit like clips to I think it was the SteeleWatching website, actually, and you could download them. I don't know if you ever did this, but did you ever do it where you turned on your computer and it said something, or you had it set up so you had a sound clip play when your computer turns on? Or was that just me? Okay, so I did this.
That was just you.
I would frequently change it, because you could do this you could set it to different sound clips as you turned it on. So at one point, when I turned my computer on, it said, "It'll be dark in an hour. Nothing gets by you, Laura." And when I turned it off, it would say, "And don't do anything in the meantime. I might, just to annoy you." So yeah, and at one point it was David Bowie from Labyrinth when you turned off the computer saying, "Fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave." So maybe this was just a me thing, but that particular quote, for some reason, I just love it. Nothing gets by you.
Well, Laura responds that this case is no longer a joking matter, Mr. Steele. "I don't have time for your nonsense," is basically what she's saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
She says, "Our client almost got killed today, and a forged death certificate was submitted by a mortuary which doesn't exist. It's time we started getting some answers, beginning with what's going on at the former Weil mortuary."
Pretty much.
Now, he asks, unhappy at the prospect
like a
of
small child that's being. Oh, God.
Come on, we got to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house. No, I was wanting to go out and play with Bobby.
Do I have to?
Anyway, yeah, he's unhappy at the prospect of having to screen Gone with the Wind at some later date, postponed even farther than it already has been.
Yeah.
And from the bedroom, Lester calls to Steele that he thinks he's located the problem. And where's that tape of Gone with the Wind? Laura shakes her head in disgust at Steele's obsession with the movie and lack of focus and attention to the case. Steele tries to excuse losing Lester for his own purposes by suggesting that by keeping Lester busy setting up the video system, Steele is really helping keep Lester's mind off the case, you know? Idle hands, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Laura nods her head in silent sarcasm. Yeah, kind of, right, yeah, sure. And frowning at his failure to lighten Laura's mood and deflect her impatience at him, he acquiesces, telling her that, fine, he'll go slip into something more appropriate, whistling as he pulls off his tie and walks toward the bedroom. Back at the former Weil mortuary, it's dark. Laura and Steele round the building toward the window and the door that she had spotted on the side earlier. They find the door locked, so they turn their attention to the window. In the script, Laura, in response to finding the door locked, says, "It appears Weil mortuary has taken a sudden interest in security." As Steele is prying open the window, he tells Laura, "I've broken into my share of buildings, Laura, but a mortuary? Stick with me, Mr. Steele," she tells him. "I've got a lot of things left to show you."
This is cute. And I know it was probably cut for time.
That's last line. That's so full of double entendres. I have a lot of things left to show you, Mr. Steele.
It was probably cut for time, and it's a shame because it is a cute little exchange. It would have been nice.
Anyway, Steele uses a pry bar to pop the window open, and Laura props it open with his large stick. Then they climb in. They are apparently in a smallish storage room initially, so Laura directs them to the door that leads into the larger room through which she saw the women earlier. But when they go through the door into that other room, it's totally empty. When Steele questions her memory, she insists that or maybe her vision. She insists that this morning the office was full of tables and filing cabinets and women up to their necks in paperwork. Steele grunts, looking at his watch, then suggests with great reluctance, that they call it an evening, go back to his apartment, clear their minds with a screening of Not Just Yet. Of course not.
Does not give up. Does not give up.
Laura thoughtfully tells him that they still have one more card to play. And resigned, Steele raises his arm in a forward gesture and says, onwards. It's still night, and we are at a somewhat impressive front door. We hear a door chime. The door opens, and we are greeted by Dr. Rosfeld. And we see past the door that we are at his home. Laura's hair is pulled back under a baseball cap with a patch that reads Federal Delivery Service, wearing a white shirt with the same patch, and she is also wearing a pair of her favorite famous Doomy glasses.
These are this is it, right? I'm right? Yep. It was the glasses? Yeah.
The Doomy glasses, yes. She also has a pack.
We have added glasses porn to sweater porn? Is that it?
Sure. Yeah, why not? She also has a package under her arm. After the preliminaries, Laura hands Rosfeld a clipboard directing him to sign. He looks at his watch, slightly annoyed, asking, isn't it a little late for a delivery? And Laura shrugs and makes the excuse that, you know our motto, on time, every time, all the time. She taps
I really enjoy her impression of a completely disinterested federal employee. She just does not, our motto, on time, every time, all the time, sign here. It's automaton. Just, I'm doing my job. Company policy.
Your FedEx, UPS employee, post office employee, especially post office employee. Don't
get me started on the post office right now.
I've had problems with all his delivery services in various forms. And there was one time where we had 2 packages coming through the post office on the same day. So same carrier would have brought them. One delivered, one did not. And the excuse for the one that didn't deliver was the door was inaccessible. It was accessible for the first package. What couldn't it?
That doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, somehow the Amazon guy gets into our apartment every flippin' time without even buzzing us. Like last night, I had a package delivered and they never buzz me. Somehow they just get in. Whereas UPS, the others, none of them ever do. I don't know. Do they have like a magical, do they just teleport? How do they do it? Maybe Monroe sends, maybe Monroe is actually, said it's not Jeff Bezos. He created Amazon. Because all his people are getting in. Anyway,
Rosfeld signs, commenting that he has no idea what it could be since he was not expecting anything. He hands the clipboard back to Laura, who hands him the package. Then, after looking at the clipboard, and as Rosfeld is starting to step back into the house, ready to close the door, she says, excuse me, Dr. Rosfeld, I'm afraid I need your full signature. You just initialed this. She hands the clipboard back to him, and he snatches the board and pen back up, angrily commenting that he's never heard of anything so silly in his entire life, which...
Right there with you.
Not true, because I think every time you get a package delivered that requires a signature, it requires a signature, not initials.
Yeah, true, but still it would be irritating if it was like 11 o'clock, which we're sort of given them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, Laura gives him an apologetic, sorry, company policy. Taking back the clipboard, she thanks him, tells him sorry for the inconvenience. And as Laura leaves, Rosfeld closes the door and opens the package. It contains a book entitled The Complete Your VCR Buying Guide.
I'm wondering if she grabbed this off of Steele's, like if it was on his counter or something, and she was, because they needed to send him something. Just like, here, we'll send him this. That way you can't buy any more VCRs. For any more
buy
rooms.
another book. Well, true. I mean, he's already bought a VCR. He doesn't need the buying guide anymore.
That's true. He has actually bought a VCR.
Well, Rosfeld flips through the pages of the book, confused, then drops it on the end table. Back at Steele's apartment, Laura and Steele enter, and there are voices from the bedroom. It's Lester and Mildred. Okay, you try it. You got it. Oh, darn. Laura calls out to Mildred, and Mildred and Lester enter the living room. Mildred talking as she enters, telling Steele, whoever sold you that thing gave you the wrong manual.
I'm going to call bullcrap, though, in that Mildred knows her computers. Mildred could, again, like Laura, Mildred could probably set this thing up in 30 seconds. So,
and the method of connecting them
It doesn't
is
change.
universal.
It's the same. Yeah, it doesn't change.
There's differences in the features of the machine and how those different features are accessed and operate. But yeah, just connecting up the wires from the back of that to the TV, it's all the same. Only the pictures are different. Anyway, Mildred hands Steele the manual as Lester affirms her statement, and then Steele utters, "Monroe." Mildred turns to Laura, hands her a file folder, and says that she's got all that information on Dr. Rossfeld. Took some doing. Had to go to the Hall of Records. Really? At night?
Yeah. Maybe she's finally figured out that lockpicking thing.
Yeah. And then she had to go to Rossfeld's bank where she did the other lockpicking,
exactly.
Based on her experience back out there in small town Iowa, where a friend of hers helped her out because, and then Laura cuts her off. Not interested in the side trip. Well, Mildred finally jumps to the highlights, saying Rossfeld owns property in Reno, Tahoe, and the Virgin Islands, and cash accounts like you wouldn't believe.
If he's part of this scam, he's not really doing a very good job at hiding it.
Well, it's all in the paperwork.
Yeah, but like Mildred says a second later, because Steele says that he seems to be in someone's front pocket, and then she says either that or the coroner's office is one of the great undiscovered career opportunities.
Well, but if you do the paperwork right, you can hide the fact that you're getting all this money from illegal means. You can.
Oh, sure, but just the fact that you have all these properties and cash accounts is going to raise some eyebrows when you were a coroner. Well,
yeah, but maybe that's just his hobby. He's actually independently wealthy because he had a rich uncle die and leave him something.
Yeah, okay. Although I do like the fact, like Mildred making this joke about the coroner's office being one of the undiscovered career opportunities. She's good at quipping. She doesn't always get to be usually it's Steele or Laura that do the fun little quips, but this is a cute little joke and she delivers it really well. And Doris Roberts is hilarious. So
yeah. Well, as you said, Steele surmises that Rossfeld must be in someone's pocket. And as you said, Mildred reports that it's either that or the coroner's office is one of the great undiscovered career opportunities. Well, Laura, who's been comparing Rossfeld's signature on both the death certificate and the fake delivery form that he signed, concludes that, in her opinion, the signature on the death certificate was not forged. Steele, who's looking through the VCR manual, offhandedly says that Dr. Rossfeld has a bit of explaining to do. And when prompted by Laura, Mildred adds that the Weil Mortuary building is currently owned by a company called Perennial Corporation. Pacing, Laura begins to hand out assignments. Tomorrow, Mr. Steele will hit Rossfeld for some answers. She will explore Perennial Corporation. Mildred and Lester will go to the obit department at the newspaper and look up the name of Weil Mortuary in any listings over the previous 2 years. Any obit that has that name has got to be phony. If there are any phony listings, let's find out if the subjects are still alive, and if they are, she's betting that there's a common link with Lester. The sound of the opening theme from Gone with the Wind interrupts her monologue, prompting her to turn around and discover that she's alone. No one is left listening. They've all gone in. She waves her arm in frustration and stomps into the bedroom to find Steele and Mildred are staring at a screen full of video snow, while Lester continues to fiddle with the connections at the back. Exasperated, Laura asks if any of them heard her. She just made a major breakthrough. So did we, says Lester. We got sound.
And I bring us back to my troubleshooting notes from earlier. If you have sound but no picture, check RCA plugs and correct color jacks. Make sure the VCR is actually in play. There, Lester, I fixed it for you. Sorry.
Back at the warehouse, presumably the next day, because I doubt that they're open 24 hours, Steele exits the limo and goes off in search of Monroe. Monroe asks Steele what he's doing there. Angry, Steele says he's got a bone to pick with Monroe. Monroe assumes that the large screen isn't to Steele's liking, but no, Steele says it's lovely, although a picture would be even lovelier, as would be the correct instruction manual.
Okay, Steele, you need to take a step back. You don't have a picture because you're not hooking it up properly, and that is not Monroe's fault. And also, you're being a bit rude to the guy who gave you a free replacement VCR. installed the TV in your bedroom, so just chill.
Really, yeah. Anyway, Monroe seems to go into CYA mode, saying that he's going to have words with that manufacturer. Steele is the second customer that this has happened to. It's good merchandise, but their quality control. And Steele cuts him off, not interested in Monroe's bovine excrement. The instruction manual. I'm going to do you one better, he says. I'm going to send my best man out straight away to make your video heaven a reality. Steele says he doesn't care about his video becoming a heavenly reality. All he wants is a picture. And I got to think Monroe is just kind of blowing smoke, because very few people have direct contact with the actual manufacturers. And even if they do, it's only with some low-level customer service person.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, they don't have contact with the important people inside the company, and they work for the company. And frankly, they probably aren't paid enough to care.
That and Monroe's probably, like, we don't know. This is one of those things where, had the show gone on longer, it would have been really nice to bring some of these characters back to find out what happened in their past, because we don't know what adventures they've been on, but we get the impression that there were a few. And Monroe seems to know him well enough to know that Steele is hopeless with anything electronic. So when he says he's going to send his best man, who does he send? An 18-year-old kid. Which, I mean...
Well, like, now, think about it. If you're having a problem with your computer, who are you going to call?
Well, actually, a millennial at this point. I'm just saying, I am having to teach Gen Z how to do basic computer stuff, because they just
are they
know.
Older than you or younger than you?
Younger. That's younger.
Okay.
Like my students, I'm having to tell them how to do like the most basic of things, because they've grown up with the technology, but they don't necessarily know how to use it. And if you think about and yes, in this case, an 18-year-old kid coming of age as the technology did probably would be your better bet. But Mildred knows a heck of a lot about stuff too.
That's true.
And she's got an interest in it. I'm just saying Monroe probably knows he's hopeless, and he's like, yeah, I'll just send the kid over. He'll do it.
And the other reason I think Monroe's just blowing smoke is that a lot of off-brand products are really made either in some nameless factory somewhere, and bought by some Joe Schmo who puts a meaningless brand name on the product and cares even less about the products than the so-called customer service people they employ, or they are made by the big name manufacturer, and it has the Joe Schmo on it, and Joe Schmo becomes responsible for the customer service and support, but they don't really know anything about the product because they didn't make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, next we are at the offices of Norman Maxwell, broker and financial advisor. We see Norman Maxwell at his desk on his phone saying, not only can you escort Miss Holt in, but you can hold all my calls till she departs. Maxwell's got a thing for Laura. Well, and Maxwell gets up and what?
The script hints that they were an item later on, because there's a bit cut out when he finds her at her loft. He makes a comment about how he let her go 4 years ago. But she has a lot of men in her past here. Okay, that keep cropping up. An awful lot of men that seem to have not only known her but have held a flame for her. You've got Clay. Guy in the closet, Clay. You've got Norm. We've got Preston from the previous episode.
Right.
Like she's leaving a trail of broken hearts in her wake here, and I'm really wondering. He says 4 years ago, which is
about the same time she had been with Wilson.
Well, I'm guessing he was maybe a rebound after Wilson. Maybe it was she broke up with Wilson and then got together with Norm and then broke his heart and then
same industry. I mean, financial industry. So it could be.
That's true. That's true. She met him at a mixer and there's a
right. Yeah. Anyway. Hey, Laura, if you ever get rid of this guy, give me a call. Here's my number.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, maybe the three of us can get together. Anyway, Maxwell gets up, walks across an immense room. It's an immense office to the doors.
Really big,
it's like, why does anybody need an office that big? I mean, what's the point? Just to intimidate people? I mean,
literally. Yes.
I mean, if you've got to intimidate people in order to succeed or prove your importance, you're a loser. Anyway, I'm sorry, was that harsh?
Yeah, a little bit. Poor Norman.
Anyway, he opens the doors even before Laura knocks, ushers her into the room, then closes the door and quips, "So you've finally come to your senses and realized that I'm the only man for you." And she responds with, "Well, you certainly are the only broker for me."
Ouch.
They hug, and Laura says, "It's good to see you, Norman." He reciprocates and then asks where she's been hiding lately. "Oh, don't tell me," he says. "You're playing hard to get." "Well, it's working." And Laura says that she's been pounding the pavement as usual. I'm going to say that outfit on her,
It's
kind of
nice.
nice. It's unfortunate that
Yeah.
the side effect is that it highlights just how too skinny she is. I mean, I like a little meat with my potatoes. Anyway.
I do think it gives her, though, it has like sort of an elegance to it.
Oh, yeah. It's
is nice on her. And it's got like a very, it's professional without looking old, which is sometimes where they leaned in the case of a lot of her dresses. This is obviously business wear, but I think it is like nice.
Yeah. Simple, clean styling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Norman sighs and says he has a sinking feeling that this is not a social call. He directs her to sit and then asks how he can win her heart back. And she asks what he knows about Perennial Corporation. Well, turns out he knows quite a bit about them. He calls them one of the glamour companies of the 80s as he recites a few of their assets. Fast food chain, life insurance company, about 12 other businesses that are doing exceedingly well. He's got plenty of his clients in Perennial, and as a matter of fact, he, Mr. Conservative, has invested rather heavily in their stock. Then he asks what her interest in Perennial is. She says she's interested in a building they purchased 2 years previously. Maxwell comments that that's kind of an unusual request, especially, I would say, since he's a financial advisor and not a real estate specialist or an expert in real estate law.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why are you coming to him? Anyway, when he asks...
I think she was maybe looking for like some inside information that he might know about the company.
The company's operations, yeah.
And then it turns out that he has a connection to Perennial, which maybe she was hoping, but not sure if he would have one.
Anyway, when he asks why she's interested in the information, she sidesteps the question, simply stating that she's on a case. Well, trying to hide his disappointment at her lack of information or her lack of willingness to come back to him.
Yeah.
He backhanded compliments her by saying that she's always the professional. He then suggests, if she's interested, that he can set up a meeting with Perennial's president, Phil Lydon. He and Maxwell went to business school together. Moore says, yeah, that would be great. So Maxwell, trying to press his advantage, tries to create an obligation to himself, saying that he'll find some way for her to return the favor.
Yeah, I mean, I find that the actor does this well in the sense that if you look at the words at face value, the words come across as sleazy. Because, as you said, trying to create an obligation. I'll find some way for you to repay me. The actor does a good...
in a gentle way.
Yeah, the actor does a good job of making it seem lighthearted, flirty without being too forward, too aggressive. The actor keeps it from crossing over that line, which it certainly could have. So yeah, I think he does a good job.
Yeah,
for sure.
But still, the whole idea is still there. Creating that creepy obligation. You owe me for this. Let's have dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. Next, Steele is back at the coroner's office. He walks into the medical examination area, which is apparently unlocked despite no one being in there. Just lets anybody wander around anywhere. Sure, go ahead. At least no one who's living was there. There does, however, seem to be a body under a sheet on the examination table, which is, I guess, why you would just leave it open for anybody to walk in.
Sure.
So,
why not?
Yeah. And especially around Halloween, he begins poking through cabinets, which, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Only to be interrupted by a young man who apparently saw Steele sneak in. Steele smiles, introduces himself as the man introduces himself as Benton Whiteley, London coroner's. Oh no, Steele introduces himself to the other
Benson
guy.
Whiteley.
Okay. Steele smiles, introducing himself as Benton Whiteley, London coroner's office. Here to compare notes with Dr. Rosfeld. Spoke to him this morning on the telephone.
I have to know, does he come up with these names just off the top of his head, or does he have a list?
He's probably got a list, I'm sure. I mean, the choice of the names and maybe the combinations are improv, but I imagine he's got a bunch of names that he's remembered over the years. There may actually be a Benton Whiteley somewhere that he knows. Who knows?
I thought it was Benson. I think it's Benson with an S.
Did you make a typo on my...
No. I was just I'm looking at the script.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, somebody made a typo. in my notes. And if I find out who that was, they're going to be in trouble.
Yes, I snuck into your house and made a typo.
That's right.
Somehow.
Anyway, he says he's there to compare notes with Dr. Rossfeld. Spoke to him on the phone this morning. Man says he doubts that. Steele apologizes. No concept of time, jet lag and all that. Must have been last night. The young man who has entered and walked over to the examination table says that Rossfeld got there a little early for his meeting. He throws back the sheet off the body on the examination table, and it's Rossfeld. Hit and run, he states. Steele sighs in resignation as he looks at the body, then asks the young man if he's a gambling man. The other man says, why? Steele looks intently at him and tells him, 8 to 5, you're looking for a black Ford. Well, Steele pulls back the sheet over Rossfeld's face and then leaves. Steele then strides back into the office at the Century Towers. Mildred is at her desk, and without preamble, he demands to know where Laura is at. I think he would have known that if he had been listening. Anyway.
Yeah, he was too focused on his VCR.
Yeah. Mildred says, at Perennial Corp. What about Rossfeld? Making a final tour of the morgue is his cryptic response. Well, an older woman enters the office. Steele greets her and asks what he can do for her. She introduces herself as Claire Johnson, adding, you wanted to see me? Confused, Steele asks, I did? Mildred explains, the first of the dead people. Steele, not wanting to appear to have no clue, says, Miss Johnson, sit down, make yourself comfortable. Mildred stage whispers to Steele, 7 to go. Just then, a young man walks into the office and asks, Remington Steele? Steele looks at Mildred and says, 6, and points to the young man to sit alongside Miss Johnson. Next, Laura enters the office of Phil Leyden, president of Perennial Corporation. They exchange introductions. Laura expresses her appreciation of him seeing her on short notice, and Leyden implies that he's pleased to see her, even on short notice, saying that he's never heard Norman Maxwell speak so glowingly of anyone in his life. At Leyden's invitation, Laura sits down, with Leyden taking a seat opposite, and he offers her a drink, which she declines, and then she plunges in, admitting, boy, somebody,
Yes,
I got to talk to you about all
me.
the typos you made on my notes, admitting that it may be sounding a little bit strange, but she wants to find out why his company bought the Wild Mortuary building a few years back. He laughs awkwardly, asking, is that why you're here? Saying that he's had all sorts of horrible delusions. After all, Norman told him that she's a private investigator. Well, Laura laughs, explaining that she just has some personal business to take care of a while, and when she got there, she was told that it had been sold 2 years ago. Again, Laura has improvised. When Laura has to improvise without preparation, she can come off as being pretty natural and sincere. Although her confrontation at the mortuary with Mr. Hare, that didn't go so well.
No, it didn't.
But Leyden rhetorically asks, has it been 2 years already?
Yeah, he's bad at this. He's clearly trying to sidetrack her from answering the question, and he's not very... Has it been 2 years? Oh, the days. Like, you wouldn't reminisce about buying a decrepit building. That's kind of silly.
Yes, sweetie, I remember when we bought that. Your grandfather and I were going down to the...
Baby's first mortuary.
Yes.
What?
Leaning forward, Laura informs him that while she was there, she was ushered away by a man who was very evasive when she asked what it was that was going on in the building. That is odd, Leyden says. Then he pauses, as if trying to recall something. Then he says, we bought that building along with 2 others on that block as simple real estate investments. You know, as I was reading that line just now, it made me wonder, why would you buy a building and leave it abandoned for
happens all the
2
time.
years? Yeah. And I just, as I was saying that line, I thought we've got a mall here in town that it had basically died. They had a few businesses left in it. One was a big grocery store in the area, and then a few other businesses, and they kicked everybody out of the business about 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And the thing has just been sitting there empty, nothing happening. And only recently, within the last couple of years, did they start actually seemingly doing anything with it and refurbishing the building and getting ready to get businesses back in there. And so far, they've only got one business back in there. It's a big auto parts store, but I mean, they throw, and not only do they have all these spaces that are still not yet occupied, and I don't know how much refurbishing they've done on the inside, but they took out the entire center section of the mall. So it was like a long strip mall, and they cut a section out, like the middle third, right out of the middle of it. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
But it's been sitting there.
Yeah, someone commented and said tax write-off. And this is actually a source of huge controversy in my city because there's a developer named Samuel Farhi, and Farhi Holdings, they own, like, this has been a big ongoing thing that appears in the news every few years or every whatever, because they own numerous empty and vacant buildings in London, which have been a source, and I'm just reading from the thing here, a source of controversy and public attention for years. Notable examples include the former public library on Queens Avenue, which is this beautiful old building that when they moved the central library into our into the mall, there's a downtown mall, they just left that building. The Market Tower, the former RBC building downtown. Farhi has cited factors like development costs and parking challenges for the delays, while the city is now working with the company on new projects like converting some vacant offices to housing, though a previous affordable housing proposal did not receive takers. So there's like he'll buy these empty buildings and just leave them there. And tax write-offs, or he'll claim, I wanted this building for this, but it's costing too much money for this, and this, and ask the city for money to develop or whatever. So it's a bit ridiculous.
And in the meantime, they're having to pay insurance on that because you at least want to protect the value of the building. So you got to buy the insurance on the building. You got to buy liability insurance in case somebody gets in there and gets hurt. I mean, it just seems like a money pit for a company to buy a building and then just let it sit empty.
Yeah. Like the Market Tower was this huge tower with a clock on it. It 14-story building, and it like 28,000 square feet of building space that's sitting unused in the heart of our downtown core, just for nothing, for being empty. So this happens a lot.
Well, anyway, after he says something about buying the buildings for just simple investment purposes, Laura acknowledges that doesn't seem mysterious. And then she asks if he happens to know what the women were doing in the building. And rather than being surprised at the reference to women working inside the building, as any normal, innocent person would in such a case.
This would have been a smart move. What women?
Yes. He overlooks the revelation, claiming that he has no idea, but if it's important, he'll have somebody check on it. It's like, okay, you've got a building supposedly empty and unoccupied, and you've got a business running out of there, and you don't know what's going on, and this doesn't surprise you in any way?
Yeah, he needed to play that a little bit more. Wait a minute, what women?
Yeah.
There's that building's empty.
Yeah.
It's like total denial. That's what he needed to do. But
yep. Yeah, well, Laura, I'm sure, caught that, but she thanks him and then gets up to leave. And Lydon asks what the questions are all about. Laura admits that she doesn't know, but as soon as she finds out, she'll let him know.
Yeah.
Well, after she leaves, Lydon steps over to a table, picks up a bottle of something, bourbon maybe, pours himself a drink. And as he's doing that, a side door to the office opens and Mr. Hare enters.
Yep.
Hare. No. Cal Sills did a great version of Hare from the musical. Anyway, there was another musical reference I almost made earlier, but I remembered last time you scolded me, so I didn't do it.
I did? I love musicals.
No, all my references.
Oh.
Anyway.
No, go for it. References are great.
I don't remember what it was now. I mean, we're past it, so forget it. No, I'm not going to do it now. Anyway, Mr. Hare tells Lydon that woman, meaning Laura, has become a liability they can't afford. Next, the agency's office is full of people, all makes and models. Steele asks Lester and Miss Johnson if they're sure they've never met. Nope, absolutely not. Mildred asks too.
Look at how they're referred to in the script.
At this point, no, I did not.
It says the 8 people: Claire Johnson, the preppy guy, middle executive types. There's middle-aged man, black man, career woman, Hispanic man, farmer, executive. I just found that kind of funny how they didn't even give them names. They're just like middle-aged man, black man, Hispanic man, career man.
They're not that important, so why give them names? Just
Fair.
yeah. Mildred asks two men, both in similar suits, wearing nearly identical ties, if they're sure that there's no connection between the two of them since they seem to dress alike. Nope, one is a salesman from Sacramento, the other an attorney from Irvine. The young man who we saw enter previously asks another man, say, weren't you in a Stanford production of Oklahoma 6 years ago? Sorry, I went to Yale. Laura enters, comes up short, stares at all the people crowding the offices, and Mildred says, hey, don't blame me. You told me to look into the obituaries and locate anybody listed with the Weil mortuary. Yeah, locate, not corral them into the office. Mildred, maybe not quite realizing what she's doing, throws Steele under the bus, saying, well, the boss had her bring him in from all over, chartered airplanes, limousines, and Laura is shocked.
Exactly what she's doing. I think she's ducking and covering.
You think so?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Anyway, Laura's shocked, almost speechless. Well, Mildred continues her rampage of destruction, saying that Steele has them booked into a hotel on Wilshire until they can figure out what the hell they have in common.
Oh yeah, she's using him as a human shield at this point.
Steele is in so much trouble.
Oh yeah.
Laura stalks over to him and frostily tells him that she'd like it a whole lot better if he wasn't so interested in the case, and then drags him into the office and begins giving him a well-deserved dressing down. Have you not heard of a conference call? Do you know how much money? And Steele reaches out and grabs her shoulders, and in a irritating and condescendingly calm manner tells her to trust him, that they're very close. Each person in that reception area had their obituary placed in the newspaper by Weil Mortuary. All they have to do now is figure out why. And why the sudden urgency, he says. Well, Steele's tone turned serious. Deputy Coroner Rossfeld is no longer an employee at the morgue. He's now a paying customer. And Laura is shocked. And Steele compounds her shock by telling her that it was a hit and run. Tough coincidence, eh? Shocked, Laura asks what they've stumbled into. Steele replies, the list of Adrian Messenger, George C. Scott, Kirk Douglas, Universal, 1963. Fine film, incidentally, available on video cassette.
Oh, Lord.
Although I do have to admit, he says the last part about it being available on video cassette without the previous enthusiasm that he's had when referencing movies on video. Laura asks Steele to skip the sales pitch and just hit her with the plot. A number of names appear on a list with no apparent connection. Scott finds the connection, stops the killer, and there you go, Steele supplies. What's the connection? They were all in a World War II prison camp together. Oh, great. Steele admits that, okay, he's already eliminated that as a possibility in the current case, but, regardless of the fact that the prisoners in a World War II camp isn't the common thread here, he tells her that the 8 people out there all share something in common, something worth murdering for. It's out there somewhere, Laura. But what? She says, frustrated. Well, Steele doesn't have an answer except that they can only keep asking. Steele and Lester are in an elevator at the Rossmore apartments. Lester says that he's tired of answering questions and he's sure he's going to drop right off to sleep tonight. Steele tells him not to worry. They'll hit it fresh in the morning, reinforcing the idea that there has to be a connection somewhere between all of their not-so-dead people.
Yeah.
As they get off the elevator, they see a young man, Rudy by name, preparing to pick the lock on the door to Steele's apartment. Steele hollers at him, and the young man looks up and says, hey, lighten up, man. Monroe sent me. The young man turns back to the doorknob and inserts a lockpick tool into the knob lock.
Now, I realize it wouldn't have saved him. Or maybe it would have. I don't know. But why? Steele is there. Why is he continuing to pick the lock?
Because it's there.
Like not man, Monroe sent me. He could just step back and wait for Steele to open the door, which I realize would kill Steele. And so
maybe
here's the thing.
He's practiced.
I'm wondering either if it's him inserting the lockpick into the lock that does it, or if the bomb is simply on a timer. Because if the bomb is on a timer, then Rudy would be dead regardless. But if it was the lockpick insertion that killed him, then kid, you didn't have to do that. I mean, then Steele would be dead, but you know what I mean. Like,
well, I would think that it's the lockpick insertion that did it, although that raises the question of how did they manage to trick out a doorknob so that inserting something into the key slot causes it to set off.
True.
Because knobs are typically all metal construction anyway.
Right.
And so if there was an electrical connection that you needed to make, you would have to break it first before you made it in order to set off the bomb. And with all the metal components in there touching each other, you've got a complete circuit already. So I don't know, unless there was some sort of a device that measured a change in capacitance or a change in voltage or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, I jumped ahead. I apologize.
Yeah. Slap you. Anyway, as he puts in the lockpick tool into the knob, there's an explosion that rips through the door, knocking Steele and Lester back into the elevator. After a moment, to gather his senses, Steele looks out of the elevator car to see the young man laying on the floor of the hallway. Debris lays all around the now deceased young man.
This is a lot more brutal than we normally see. We've gotten it a few times because usually the blood isn't real, but like deliberately
the explosions are.
Well, the explosions are, but also the fact that this was not just somebody that Monroe sent, but a kid.
A kid, yeah.
Right? I mean, yes, legally an adult, but a kid. This is a teenager that he sent over to install this thing for him. And
wrong place, wrong time.
They looked up with a big wide smile. Lighten up, man. Monroe sent me. Like probably a kid with a lot going for him, as Monroe says later. And then you just see his body laying there, and it's really quite stark because we normally don't get that kind of like, I don't know, that depth of reality in the deaths that occur on the show. And this we do. Obviously we do, because then we get this. That's kind of what kind of drives this to the next level, where Laura and Steele are both realizing, hey, wait a minute, this isn't just any other case. This is really serious. There's some pretty scary stuff going on.
And it's not just a case of financial fraud and paperwork fraud. It's now a case of people are dying. They're not just dying, they're being murdered, which is what this is. It's murder.
Yeah.
So, that takes it to the whole next level. Anyway, we are outside of Laura's apartment, her loft, rather. Laura approaches her door and prepares to slip her key into the padlock, which is securing the apartment front door. But she stops when she hears a voice say, "Hold it right there, Holt." And she turns to face the voice. It's Norman Maxwell. She asks what he's doing there. He replies, "You didn't think I was going to let you run in and out of my life so fast, did you? How was your meeting with Phil Lydon?" "Uneventful," she says. "I'm not surprised," he admits. "Then what do you say if you let me try to win you? What do you say if you try to let me? What do you say if you let me try to win back your heart over a cup of coffee?" Laura cautiously says that she'd feel a lot better about it if she didn't think he was half serious. He admits that he would have thought that after 4 years he would have had her completely out of his system, but no, guess not.
So
they ended their relationship 4 years ago. That doesn't say anything about when it started. So she could have been with Weil Wilson and
So there's a line in the script that they cut out, which I kind of wish they had kept in, because when he says after 4 years I thought I'd have you entirely out of my system, it could also just imply that they were friends and he had a thing for her and nothing ever happened between them. But and I had that as one of my questions in my notes. And then when I read the script, the line before it, she says, "Norm, I didn't know seeing you this morning would make things uncomfortable for us. I never would have called." That line definitely says, they had something, whether it's a full-on relationship or a fling, who knows, but they were involved. And I think it gives a little bit more context to the next line that he says, where he says, I thought after 4 years I'd have you out of my system. I guess not. Because in my note I had written, did they ever date, or was it an unrequited attraction on his part? And then I went and read the script and I was like, oh yeah, no, it seems like they dated, but obviously he was more invested than she was. So
Yeah. Well, after that additional exchange there that you summarized, Laura simply says she's committed, which is, I've got, wow, what an admission by Laura. It's too bad she hasn't told Steele that.
And you can see it's hard for her to even say it. She kind of goes, I'm committed, which I don't mean that because she's ashamed of it or anything, but I think it's for her a difficult thing
admission.
for her. Yeah, for her to say that she's vulnerable to anyone.
Well, and maybe it's because it's the first time she's actually consciously recognized that.
Yeah, could be.
You know, and saying it out loud even makes it more real, because it's not just, okay, consciously now I'm having to accept that and acknowledge it, but now I have to say that to explain this to, wow. I really come a lot farther on this thing than I thought I had. You know, I thought we were just, it was casual and we're having fun and you know, things. No, it's serious.
Yeah.
So,
and it's unfortunate that this is one of those things where for women it becomes kind of an awkward, like, it's obviously she's not interested in him regardless of whether or not Steele was in the picture. It's obvious that she whatever reason caused them to end it, she was clearly content with that reason. But as most of us have had to do at some point or another, she feels the need to basically say, I'm sorry, but I'm with someone, in order to get him to back off. That's literally the only thing that basically causes him to go, oh yeah, my bad. Which kind of sucks, because it should just be enough to say, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested.
Well, except that,
and to be fair, she didn't actually say that.
Yeah, she kept sidestepping the issue, and I wouldn't, you know, if you just weren't so serious about that. I mean, that could be interpreted as kind of a hard to get ploy.
Oh, I think up until she said that line about, I'd feel a lot better if I didn't think you were half serious, I think she thought they were just lightly flirting. I don't think she actually thought he was being serious until he made that comment. She realized, oh crap, he really does still have a thing for me. And she probably should have just said, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. But a lot of women have to give that, I'm sorry, but I'm with someone, because, and not Norman, to be fair, he seems pretty respectful of her once she puts it out there that it's not going to happen. But yeah, it just, I've had that situation. I remember there was one time I was in a bar and we were leaving. My husband was with me. He just went to get our coats. And some drunk guy came up to me and made some sort of comment. I think I was wearing a kilt or something at the time. It was a dance place or whatever. And are you Scottish? And I said, no, but my husband is. Intentionally putting that right in the sentence. Oh, is he here? And I said, yes. And then, are you happily married? What? Are you serious right now, my friend? What? Like, thankfully at that point, because my husband was literally just off getting our coats, another friend of ours who was there with his partner saw this exchange and came and put his arm around me and was like, come on, honey. And we walked off, which was probably really weird to the drunk guy, who was probably going, wait, he's not Scottish. But, like, it was just, happily? Like, what? Anyway. Well, good times.
You know, you talking about how women will say, you know, I'm with somebody, or I'm going with somebody, I'm whatever, as a way of avoiding having to tell the person, you know, I'm not into you, go away. And I understand why they would do that, but it's kind of, especially if it's somebody they know, it's kind of unfair, because it gives the impression that, well, if things change.
Yeah,
you know,
I realize that could come across as a, well, if I wasn't married, sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And so it's kind of dishonest on the girl's part. But I mean, like I said,
in my case, I was being honest. My husband was getting the coats.
I wasn't talking about that portion of what you said. I was talking back earlier in the conversation.
Sometimes though, when a woman does make up a fake boyfriend, It's often because they suspect that telling them they're not interested won't deter them.
Well, that could be too. Yeah.
So in this case, that's not what Laura's doing. She's being honest. I'm committed.
Well, that doesn't make Maxwell happy, but he realizes that they are in fact destined to be nothing more than good friends. Afraid so, she says gently.
I like his little damn it. I think that's really cute. I actually kind of like Norman. I know that he's like we said earlier, some of his statements were a little bit in the office, but it's.
But in retrospect, though, it kind of, given what you said about the presentation of them and such, it could be. It could be that we look at that and say, okay, based on this exchange and the types of things he's saying and the way he's saying them, they had a relationship in the past that was kind of this lighthearted, oh, you owe me for that.
It could be. Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I interrupted while you were saying something.
No. You're right. It could be that was how they sort of bantered back and forth in that way. I just like the fact that she turns him down. And instead of getting bitter about it or angry or whatever, he's disappointed. Obviously, we're destined to be good friends. Damn it! But then she says, "I'm afraid so," and he basically then just switches gears and says, "Can I buy you a cup of coffee? Can we be friends?" Which is really sweet, and I like Norman Maxwell. I think he's a nice guy that it just wasn't meant in the cards for the two of them, and I feel bad for the guy.
Well, before she says that, or after she says afraid so, she turns back toward the door, getting ready to unlock the padlock. And she pauses, doesn't get it done when Maxwell asks that comment, as you said, about taking her out for a cup of coffee, and she smiles and says, sure. And then they begin to walk away, presumably headed to the coffee shop down the street. It's got to be a Starbucks, right? No, it can't be a Kaladi Brothers. But Laura stops a few feet short. In the 80s,
it was probably a Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, that's true. Yeah. I'm trying to remember when Kaladi started up here, but I don't remember.
Or Robin's. Anyway. Did you guys have Robin's Donuts, or was that a Canadian thing?
Not that I'm familiar with.
Okay, it's probably a Canadian
At least
thing,
not anywhere where I lived.
Fair enough.
Anyway, they begin to walk away. But Laura stops after a few steps and says, come on, let me make you some coffee. So they walk back. Laura slips the key into the padlock, and I've got a question about this based on what I said earlier. She unlocks it, slides the door open, and is stunned to see a disheveled and seemingly exhausted, both physically and emotionally, Remington Steele kneeling on the floor. She steps in and asks...
People need to stop blowing up or setting fire to her homes. They need to stop rigging bombs to her door. This is not... Good Lord. I mean, it doesn't work. Oh, somebody said in the comments, Winchells? Is that a coffee place?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
Winchells Donuts, yes.
Must
I remember them. Yellow triangular sign had a donut on it. I don't know what the donut has to do with a donut shop, but they had a donut on the...
Yeah. Whoa. That's craziness. I've never heard of them, but I'll take your word for it.
Anyway, she steps in and asks, what happened to you? He says the same thing that would have happened to you if I hadn't been able to jimmy your window open. He lifts the device with a number of wires hanging off of it. And Laura seems to recognize the significance of the exhibit and then asks if Lester is okay.
He can disarm a bomb, but he can't hook up a VCR.
A VCR, yeah.
Something is not making sense here.
Well, and earlier I said when we were talking about how the bomb was set off, I said, well, probably something they stuck in there. And I'm going to change that now. Based on this.
Yeah, because she had a padlock. It had to have...
That's right. Just the padlock wouldn't have been wired to anything unless you saw the wires hanging off of it. So it could be that on Steele's door, it was set to go off once it was opened, and Rudy got it open just enough that it moved far enough that it set off the bomb. Anyway, after she asks how Lester's doing, Steele looks up. Well, no, he doesn't even look up. He just says that Lester's fine. Then he raises his head and looks at her as he continues, telling her that there's an 18-year-old kid who wasn't nearly so lucky, that he was blown apart in the hallway outside of Steele's apartment.
You can tell this is serious for a number of reasons, like the fact that he's barely looked at her. Mm-hmm. He's covered in soot and grime. He looks terrible, but also the fact that Laura just walked in late at night with a man.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't get all crazy.
He didn't get crazy or jealous. He barely even registers that Maxwell's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not even in him emotionally to get worked up about that, which tells you a lot, because usually he flies into hysterical drama queen nonsense over the silliest thing. But in this case, he's spent. He's just exhausted.
Although he may not have seen Maxwell, in part because Maxwell did not come into the apartment immediately.
True. But when he does.
Yeah. But when he does, yes, you're right. And it's at this point that Maxwell steps in and wonders what's going on and asks if everything is okay. Laura introduces Maxwell and Steele, and then Maxwell asks Steele what happened. And Steele, with a little bit of flippancy, but not a harsh flippancy, tells Maxwell that someone doesn't like the way they do business. Then he tells Laura that they are no longer dealing with bogus death certificates and obituaries, and that the stakes have gone up considerably.
Yep.
When Laura ponders that none of this makes sense, Maxwell challenges her to give up the case. Laura shakes her head, telling him that she can't help but think that Perennial is somehow involved. And Maxwell shakes his head and says, no. I mean, he's emphatic about it. They're not. And his excuse is, Phil Leiden's a friend. And I'm thinking, loyalty's fine, but that's not a defense.
Yeah, that's, it's easy to say, I guess, so-and-so's. It's probably just that he's assuming that because he's a friend, he doesn't think he's capable of doing something like this, which makes sense. I wouldn't assume my friends are capable of blowing up 18-year-old kids either.
And also presumably because you think your friends aren't going to lie to you.
True.
Which is basically what Leiden has done, because he's gotten him to invest in his business that's built on fraud.
Yeah.
But anyway, Steele starts walking slowly toward the door, and when she asks where he's going, he doesn't answer. Instead, he tells her that he's booked them into a room in a motel and gives her the location.
Is that a good idea to say that in front of Maxwell? I mean, he doesn't know how involved Maxwell is. Maxwell knows Leiden. He's friends with Leiden, so maybe not a great... But I think at this point, he's not thinking clearly. He's just so upset that he's just on autopilot. Yeah.
So when she again asks what he's going to do, he simply says that he's got to make a stop. So next we are at Monroe's apartment. He's relaxed, reading a magazine, and then there's a knock on the door. He gets up, walks to the door, peeks through the peephole, and seeing who's on the other side, opens the door to Steele, greeting him with the observation that 11:30 in the evening is a bit late for business. Steele quietly asks if it's too late for a nightcap. Literal meaning. The earliest meaning of nightcap, dating from the late 14th century, referred to a hat worn in bed to keep one's head warm.
Yeah.
And figurative term, the term was adopted for an alcoholic drink or nightcap because it was consumed before bedtime, much like a literal nightcap was put on. This figurative use began around 1818. And the purpose was, the connection is based on the idea that both the cap and the drink warm the body and help one relax for sleep. Anyway, looking Steele over, Monroe considers that, well, perhaps Steele needs a little bit more than just a nightcap.
Yeah.
Steele walks in, sullen and dejected, and Monroe asks him, what's up? Well, Steele begins, his voice shaky and pained. The young man you sent over. He stops, and after a moment, Monroe supplies the name, Rudy. Steele looks at Monroe for several seconds, unable to continue, and then finally manages to get the words out. He's dead, Monroe. And Monroe's eyes drop. And I mean, it's clear this hits him personally. For whatever reason, whatever his relationship is between himself and Rudy, there was a relationship there that this hurts him. And I don't think it's just because he's an employee, I sent him over to take care of it. He's one of my best employees. It's more than that.
You kind of wonder if he's taking this kid under his wing in a similar way that Daniel did with Steele, only in this case, maybe more about on the legitimate side, because we know that Monroe has attempted to go legitimate. So maybe Rudy, in my head, the way I pictured it was that Rudy was maybe a kid who was going down a wrong path, but was a good kid at heart, that Monroe had employed and mentored and was helping
Mm-hmm.
kind of figure out what he was good at. And
Big
so
Brother,
you're right.
like
Yeah,
the Big Brother program, something
it's
like
a
that.
really good, like, this episode is this is a huge tonal shift in the episode, and sometimes that feels jarring or off, considering that most of the episode is very lighthearted. It's about Steele running around trying to get his VCR working, but it doesn't feel unearned. It feels very, very logical and very.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, we got to figure out a way to kill somebody. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the VCR plot is obviously a tactic to get this kid in his hallway, and we need a victim that makes the stakes go higher. But it also gives us this moment between Monroe and Steele that elaborate on whatever their relationship is and their friendship and how far they go back and all of this stuff. And it does it in the space of, 2 minutes, not even, which is really, really beautifully done. So I just...
And not only is it well written, but it's well acted.
Oh, yes. Like, Brosnan is so good at being funny in this show. He doesn't get a lot of moments where he gets to really show range, like depth, emotional range. And this scene is a really good scene because he does it very subtly. Again, it's not, why God, oh my gosh, he's dead. It's very, there's a catch in his breath when he says he's dead. And it sounds like a normal person would sound if they're trying not to break down and cry, and they're trying to be just like, here's this information that I think you need to know. And he does a really good job of it. And so does Richard Lawson, who is, like you said, when his eyes kind of go downward and he digests the news, there's a whole range of emotions that play across his face that tell us as the viewer that, like you said, this is a kid he knew and it was more than an employee.
Right.
So.
Well, Steele explains what happened. Someone rigged a bomb to his front door, and Rudy was working the lock, and he kind of stumbles and pauses and then says, "Does Rudy have any relatives that we should?" And Monroe waves Steele off, saying he'll handle it.
I'm gonna guess no.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Monroe takes a few stumbling steps, turns to look at Steele, and with obvious affection says, "He was a good kid, Mick. Full of sass, just like we used to be."
Yeah.
And Steele apologizes to Monroe, saying there was no warning. And Monroe tells Steele that it doesn't make much sense. Steele sits down on the arm of the couch, almost as if he no longer has the strength to stand.
Yeah.
And Monroe anguishes. All the chances we took, all the things we pulled. It should have been one of us, Mick, not Rudy, not an innocent kid. It should have been one of us.
This is a really powerful moment, not just for what happened to Rudy, but for Steele, and just like kind of reminding us as viewers that these guys have done a lot of risky stuff and have come out of it unscathed every time. And there's that feeling you sometimes get of being immortal when you are able to cheat death or cheat fate so many times, that this is that reminder that not everybody is able to do that, and that we all have that moment where we have to kind of look at reality for a moment, and that's survivor's guilt, because that's what this is. This is Monroe sort of thinking, why should I be here after everything I've done? And this 18-year-old kid who had his whole life ahead of him, it gets snuffed out. That's not, it's not fair.
Well, not only that, but it tells us, or it implies a whole lot about Steele's background, more than what we have ever been told or shown, because most of the stuff that we've seen that he's been involved in, it's been robberies, it's been scams, heists. Yeah. We've got all these things that he's been involved in that were risky in the sense that they could have gotten caught. And sometimes they were risky in the sense that they were dealing with people who were not exactly unwilling to be violent. But this line here, all the chances we took, all the things we pulled, it should have been one of us. I mean, that implies things that are so far beyond what we've seen and been told about Steele that it just adds a whole lot to the story in our minds.
Especially when Steele references the Frenchman that patched them up in Barbados. Because why would you need to be patched up? What happened? What were you doing? Well,
not only that, but and that's the next line here, but not just the Frenchman who had to patch them up. It's what Steele says in his reminiscence. I've got bad news for you, Missy Me. You'll live.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
what a poignant thing to say.
Monroe says, Steele says Monroe couldn't stop laughing. He tore some of his stitches out, and Steele didn't crack a smile. And it's the next thing, because I saw another side of what he was saying.
Yeah.
I knew we were lucky. I mean, really lucky. Dealt a few more aces than most people, but it's a mixed blessing, because sometimes those we want to hold closest to us don't always have the same hand, and there's nothing we can do about it.
You get chills when you hear him say it, because this kind of gives us his whole character arc, his whole, I don't want to go back to more French, but raison d'etre, like the whole reason why he's so hesitant to stay in one place or to commit to anyone or to be vulnerable or to get closer to.
It's too risky.
Because it's too risky. He's seen too many people. He's lost too many people, and he's had too many people just up and leave him. And in his mind, even if he's lucky, even if he's got a good hand at with the cards metaphor, that means everyone else around the table doesn't. So it's really a beautiful moment where you see how Steele has viewed the world as a game of chance, and if he's the one skating by, then he can't rely on anyone else to be able to be there with him, because there's no guarantee with gambling. There's no guarantee with taking these sorts of chances. And the fact that he would take "you'll live" as a not a negative, but a reminder that you can't rely on anything ever is something impressive.
Yeah.
Writing wise, it's a good piece of writing.
Yeah. Well, after Steele says that, Monroe summarizes saying that we don't control the deck, and admits that he felt that way too. He stands, walks towards Steele, and then continues. But there are ways we can even the score. Do you know who did this? Steele is silent for a moment, then shakes his head, admitting, no, not yet. Monroe tells Steele that he wants to be there when he finds out. Steele looks at Monroe, and after a moment, he raises his hand, holds it out. Then Monroe reaches out and takes Steele's hand in his.
God, I wish they brought him back.
Yeah.
He's just such a interesting character.
Yeah. And it would have been interesting to have them together again to find out more about some of the things that
I want to know what they did in Barbados. I want to know what I want to know more about Monroe.
Well, next we're at the Downtowner Motor Inn.
Oh, this is a terrible hotel. You can tell things are bad. This is how you know Steele is taking it seriously, when he's booked them into a place like this.
Yeah.
No luxuries, no fancy. I mean, to be fair, he did book them into the same room. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
No lights, no motor car, not a single luxury.
Yeah. And this also could lend credence to the theory that they're sleeping. Yeah, I got it. Like Robinson Crusoe, it's as primitive as can be. Yeah.
Anyway.
But this also could lend credence to the fan theory that they're sleeping together, because they're booked into the same room. And neither one of them.
All you have to do is hang a sheet between one side of the bed and the other side. And it's just real simple.
Sure.
Anyway, she's sitting, unmoving, alone in the room. And then there's a knock at the door. She gets up, walks to the door, and asks, "Yeah?" "It's me," Steele replies from the other side. She opens the door and lets him in. And Steele walks to the bed as Laura locks the door. And he tells her that he just left Lester, who is sound asleep. Laura comes to join him on the foot of the bed, and after a moment, he gets up, and Laura, sounding just a bit as if she's in a panic, asks where he's going.
They're both doing this really good job of portraying this fear, this settled in anxiety. Like Laura's sitting on that bed, like just stock still, rigid, waiting for him. And when he shows up, just the way that he sits down, the way they're afraid to even look at each other. I do like the fact that he gets up to adjust the air conditioning, because those motels are always so freaking cold. Am I the only one that you go in there and it's like an Arctic freezer?
Oh, no, not all of them. My wife and my son-in-law and daughter gave us a stay up at the Alyeska ski resort here in down the road in Girdwood. And that room was so hot, and nothing we did to the controls made any difference. It was
that sucks.
I was dying.
That sucks.
Yes.
See, every hotel I've ever checked into, it's always so cold. And I'm always like, can we just turn the AC off? Because it's not necessary. It's February, you know?
Well, it's like when I was in high school, or probably even in grade school, they ran the air conditioner in the winter. And as it was approaching summer and coming out of summer, they ran the heater. And it's like, why? Well, somebody tried to say, well, they're testing it. Well, they don't have to test it for 6 weeks at a time.
Hey, at least you didn't check into a hotel room and start hearing voices. That happened to us once.
Ooh.
Yeah, we checked into this hotel. We took our daughter to Canada's Wonderland in Toronto, which is like this a theme park. And we checked into the hotel right across the street. And this was a nice hotel. This wasn't, your rundown motel that they're in. We get into the room and we were unpacking and whatever else, and then we start hearing talking and people talking in the room, like they're in the room with us.
In the room with you.
In the room with us. The TV's not on though. And I'm like, what's going on here? So we start looking around, and I thought, well, we were at the end of the room and there was a door right beside it that was not a room. So I thought maybe there's like a communication center behind it, or like some sort of office, and it's somehow bleeding through. I don't know. So we searched around. We put our head against the wall. We tried to listen. It went away, and then it started again. And it was, again, people talking to each other, like back and forth. And we're still like, okay. So I pick up the phone, and I called the front desk, and I'm like, this is going to sound really weird, but we're hearing voices in our room. and they're like, okay. And, we hung up, and because they were like, I don't know what to tell you. And then a few minutes later, it happens again. So I call back to the front desk. I'm like, seriously, we're hearing voices, and they're in the room. They're not beside the room or outside. They're in the room. And so they sent somebody up. And at this point, we're like, are we crazy? What is happening right now? And the guy comes in, and we're searching around, and he leans down and looks under the bed, and someone had left their walkie-talkie. When they cleaned it earlier, they left their walkie-talkie, and they had been looking for it, apparently, and it was there. So we were hearing all the communications between them. We're like, okay, we're not crazy. We were hearing voices. Thankfully, there's an explanation. So now, I'm just saying, at least they're not hearing voices in their hotel room. Sorry, rabbit hole.
Well, anyway, after he adjusts the air conditioning settings, he comes back to the foot of the bed, and Laura apologizes, admitting that she's a bit jumpy.
Yeah.
Nervously, she starts to stand, but Steele urges her to sit back down. In response to her admission of being jumpy, Steele admits to being scared, and she's surprised. Steele tells her that given that they're dealing with murder, county officials on the take, falsified documents, he would be more concerned about himself if he wasn't scared.
I mean, yes, but also I think he offered that admission to her because he knew she needed it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's scared. He is obviously scared. You can see it on his face. But I think in a lot of other cases, he might not have said it to her, but he can see, because she's usually so composed. She's usually so in control. She doesn't normally allow anybody to see that she's frightened either. And in this case, that vulnerability is shining through loud and clear for both of them. So she gives a little bit of herself, and he gives a little bit back. And it's a really nice exchange, because when she looks up and she says, "You are," like, there's this moment where it's like he's allowing her to see beyond the wall, and same vice versa. And it's it's a tiny exchange, but it really works, because then he kind of says the line that you said, like, I'd be a lot more concerned if I wasn't.
Yeah. Well, and then in a couple of missing lines here, Steele tells her that you've got to embrace your fear, Laura. It can keep you alive. And Laura says, don't worry. We've become intimate friends in the last few hours.
I'm kind of glad they cut that out, because I think it would have come off as him being melodramatic and silly, and or trying to like hit on her in an moment where they really could. Yeah, I'm glad they cut that line out. That one did not work for me.
Yeah. Laura says that it would help if they knew what they were up against. Steele agrees, then expresses amazement that who would have guessed that a sweet little old garlic farmer like Lester would take the lid off of Pandora's box. Laura sighs, Steele looks at her for a moment, then reaches over and takes her hand in his and pats with the other one reassuringly. Laura looks at him a moment, then says, "Thanks." For what? He wonders. For saving my life this afternoon, for being there, for being you.
For being you.
Yeah.
That's as close to an I love you as we've ever gotten from her.
Yeah. And he notices it too, and because he grins and lets out with a slight chuckle and says, "I think that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me."
It's because she's all the times where she's been frustrated.
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Literally this time, thank you for being who you are.
Mm-hmm. No matter who you are.
Yeah. Like just thank you for being there, for being here, and for being the person that you are.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really, really powerful statement coming from her. On most people, it might not be. Okay. But from her, that's really sweet.
Well, he scoots over to her, puts his arm around her, and then she leans into him, resting her head on his shoulder.
And also, this is just like they could have gone for a kiss, but this is similar to Red Holt Steele, where I think the writers acknowledge that this is more of a comfort moment, and to show that they're on the same page. She needs comfort, he needs comfort, and you get the impression that they probably just fell asleep, clothes on.
And they're not confusing comfort with sex.
No. They're both scared, and they're both just needing something, and they're giving it freely, but there's no expectations or innuendo. I'm glad they cut that line, because it probably would have added a layer to the scene that didn't need to be there. Well,
back at the office, Steele and Laura, along with Mildred, have gathered the not-so-dead people, and they've been quizzing them, trying to find some common ground between them all that could give the trio a lead onto what's going on and who's behind it. Finally, the attorney from Irvine says, "Can't we call it quits? Let's face it, there is no common denominator." Mildred warns, "The natives are getting restless." "And we're running out of questions," Laura admits. Then she asks if they all have life insurance. Steele points out that Laura's grasping at straws, especially given that they already know that Lester doesn't. She raises her hand at him to signify that he just hush. The responses are mixed, some affirming they do, others indicating they don't. "So much for double indemnity," Steele comments. Frustrated, Laura leans her head back, complaining that she was so sure all had something to do with perennial. Well, one of their guests perks up at the reference and asks if that perennial's the same as perennial life insurance. And Mildred responds in the affirmative, clarifying that the Perennial Corporation owns Perennial Life. Laura eagerly asks the man, who had previously indicated that he had life insurance, if that's the company his insurance is with. And he says no. Naturally, Steele interjects. But the man continues, saying that he almost went with them once, even gone so far as to make out the application with them. But it was 10 pages long, and then he moved out of the city and decided he wanted to be with a company that was more, in my area. And Lester thoughtfully recalls that he'd filled out an application for insurance with that company, but the premiums would have been too big. And the light begins to glimmer.
Yeah.
Laura asks the gathered throng, "How many of you at some point in your life filled out an application for life insurance with a company by the name of Perennial Life Insurance?" And almost immediately, everybody's hands goes up. Laura claps her hands, turns to Steele, and shares her suspicion that whatever those women were doing at Wild Mortuary has something to do with those applications. She'd bet on it. Steele doesn't disagree with her conclusions, but asks what it means. I mean, after all, none of the people here have been cheated out of any money. Mildred adds that they weren't insured by Perennial, so they never paid a single premium. Laura turns her head to the side, gives the matter a quick thought, and then, with animation, says, "We're close. We're close. We're getting very close. We just have to get a little closer." And Steele and Mildred look at each other, worried looks on their face. Next, we see Phil Lydon at his desk, looking through papers. His phone buzzes, and he answers, addressing his secretary. And after a pause, he asks, "Who?" Another pause, followed by, "You're kidding." And yet another pause, and then, "I'll be right out." He walks out to the reception area where Steele is standing alongside with Monroe. The two men are handcuffed together, and a large tan messenger bag lies on the secretary's desk.
The script has Monroe shabbily dressed, clearly portraying a burned-out, drugged-out thief. And then it says, Monroe is handcuffed and his British accent has turned into stereotypical jive talk.
Well, I didn't put that part in because to me, he's not dressed poorly.
No,
he actually looks pretty good.
I found that kind of funny because I'm like, if that's their interpretation of it, if that's their interpretation of a shabby, drugged out thief, yeah. I guess maybe that's the LA version of it because that's not what I would.
No,
expect.
That's the Hollywood version of it.
Yeah, that's definitely the Hollywood version.
It's like there was an old Jack Benny skit where his Maxwell had gotten stolen and he has to go down to the police station and he had trouble finding them because they've got an unlisted phone number. You go in and it's a big chandelier place and it's just all fancy and swanky and their police dogs are like giant poodles and
exactly. Yeah.
It's the most ridiculous thing. Anyway, Steele addresses Lydon, flips out a wallet with a police badge and ID and introduces himself as Detective Saunders. Then asks Lydon if he owns a black Mercedes license PC1. Now I've got it in my notes later on.
Perennial Corporation 1, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does Steele have a round Band-Aid on his neck through this entire sequence? It's right here on the left side.
I wondered that. I wonder if something happened to Brosnan.
But it's only during the sequence, and it's in the office, and it's outside by the car. So it's not like they were probably shot on the same day or anything like that.
I don't know. There's got to be. Maybe there was.
I didn't see anything in the script, but it's something specific to that sequence.
If anybody knows, I know there's a lot of people that know sort of behind the scenes stuff. Please let us know, because I wondered that too. I could have just been as simple as he cut himself shaving that more. I don't know, but you're right. It might. I don't know. Maybe the makeup went wonky for that scene, or they.
Except that they had to. Whatever was the cause, if it was something that happened that they had to put something on there to cover it up, then they had to shoot all of those scenes from that sequence, even if they're not on the same day, replicating that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
And you would have thought they could have shot it from a different direction or something like that. But anyway,
yeah.
Lydon acknowledges that, that sounds like his car, and then asks what it's all about. Steele grabs the bag and begins shaking out cassette tapes. He tells Lydon that he found this gentleman inside your vehicle, and if you'd like to accompany us downstairs, you can assess what else is missing. Monroe, playing his part in the scam, says, "Say, dig it, man. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. There was another dude down there. You understand what I'm saying?" Lydon tells Steele.
I like Monroe. He's good.
Lydon tells Steele, "Let's go," and starts toward the elevator. Steele grabs Monroe by his vest and starts to pull him toward the elevator. Well, the elevator doors open, and this is somebody added this because a blonde comes out of the elevator, and in a moment of apparent improvisation, Monroe turns his head, checks out the woman's backside, and then reaches back and grabs a handful.
He does. It was it's not in the script. It is not in the script. That is Monroe in character, taking advantage.
Even the blonde is not in the script.
No.
She was apparently just set decker, an extra thrown in there to give it some. The scene some body and some space, and he just reaches out and grabs a handful.
It's funny. It's quite funny because you can see the look at her face. What? She walks by.
Well, Steele puts his hand on Monroe's back and shoves him into the elevator. As the camera follows the blonde as she first turns and reacts to being groped, then walks down the hallway, she passes Laura, who is carrying a large watering pitcher and dressed in a hippie outfit. Blue jeans, smock top, long beaded necklace, a choker, headband around some very unkempt hair with a small braided braid down each side.
She does a
large
really great
dangly
job here.
earrings, and of course, the hippie version of her doomy glasses. My question is, go ahead.
She just does such a great job of appearing like she's stoned out of her mind. And she's got the flu.
My question is, how did she get to that floor? I mean, most buildings
she
have a central elevator cluster, and they would have gone up or down in that. And we just saw Steele and Monroe and Leyden enter that. And Laura didn't come out of it. She came out of a hallway off to the side.
I guess maybe the implication is there's more offices down that way, and she came up first to kind of like, I don't know, make it look like they're not together. Literally my only guess, and it's not a very good guess, but
yeah. Well, she walks up to the secretary's desk and says, "Hello." And the secretary questions her, asking where Sylvia is. Laura airily says, "Well, she's got the flu. May I?" And she just randomly waves her hand around.
Gestures to the,
The secretary tells her, "Go ahead." Well, Laura stumbles kind of out of it into Leyden's office and then closes the door behind her. And immediately she's Laura again. She heads over to the computer behind the desk, sets her watering can on the desk, and begins working the computer. Well, outside in the parking lot, Leyden is walking around his car. The front passenger window we can see is shattered, and he's inspecting the rest as Monroe is into his role and ranting. So I sees this suspicious looking dude toying with the windows here. And I says, "Hey man, what you doing here is dishonest."
And to be fair, he sounds exactly like a thief who has been caught in the act would sound when he's trying to make up a story that is completely unbelievable and ridiculous. That's dishonest. I'm not Yeah.
Steele asks Leyden if he's sure that there was nothing else taken from his car, and he affirms that nothing else is seemingly out of sorts. Steele tells Leyden that Monroe's character would have taken the radio in another minute or two. And, of course, Monroe protests. "No, you got me all wrong, Jack. I was trying to stop the dude from taking
the dude."
Steele interrupts, telling Leyden that he thinks they better go back upstairs to his office and pick up the evidence as he begins pulling Monroe again by his vest. And Monroe insists, "This is all wrong. After all, he's got his professional reputation to think about, his image."
I love Monroe. I really wish we had seen more of him.
Well, back up in the office, Laura is still struggling with the computer, but suddenly the screen displays information that has her snapping her fingers in celebration.
This is probably the only thing that is technologically accurate. The amount of time it would take to print out that dot matrix sheet of paper that she's trying to print out.
Well, the sound of the doorknob being turned startles her. So she turns off the monitor, turns and grabs her watering can. And as the door opens, she sees the secretary come in saying that she has a question about her ficus at home. I thought maybe Laura could tell her what's wrong. She says that the leaves are all sticky. Laura repeats,
"Sticky leaves.
Sticky leaves." The secretary continues saying that it's getting all over, and she thought it was sap or something, but a friend of hers says it's scales. Well, it's either a pet infestation, scale insects, mealybugs, aphids, spider mites, or something called glutination, where the plant sweats or pushes out the excess moisture and sugars from the leaf pores. That can happen when the plant is overwatered, or if there are changes in humidity, and it is often a sign that the plant is absorbing more water than it can use. Well, to get rid of the
botany lesson for the day.
To get rid of the secretary as quickly as possible, and because she doesn't have an answer, Laura tells her that as soon as she's finished, she'll write down some instructions for you to do. And the secretary is happy and leaves, and Laura rushes back to the computer. She enters a command to print out whatever it is that she's found. But as she's standing there in front of the printer, there's suddenly a voice saying, "Hello, it's Mr. Hare."
Did not know about the side door.
No. So she turns and looks at him. Well, outside at the secretary's desk, Steele is placing the tapes back into the messenger bag, telling Leyden that he's going to have to go down to the station to swear out a complaint. Leyden asks why they can't just do it here and get it over with. Steele tells him sorry, he doesn't make the rules. Steele starts pulling Monroe back toward the elevator, and as they're going, Monroe turns and yells at Lyden, "You're going to be hearing from my attorney, man. This is police brutality, sucker."
And again, the prowess of Richard Lawson. He's just so funny in this scene. He switches from just this character that earlier of being this very sophisticated ex-con or ex-thief, what have you, to the, you're going to hear, this is police brutality, sucker. It's just funny. It's really good.
Well, Lyden turns to enter his office, and getting into the elevator, Steele starts to take the handcuffs off, telling Monroe that he's glad to see he hasn't lost his touch. Except he's doing it before the doors are closed.
Right?
Why?
I know.
Dumb. Anyway, before the doors begin to close, Steele looks back toward the secretary's desk and, to his horror, spots Laura's basket on the floor in front of the desk.
Yeah.
And in a panic, he tells Monroe that Laura's still in there. And the two of them take off, running toward Lyden's office, dropping the messenger bag with the cassette tapes along the way. Well, next we see from inside the office that Steele and Monroe bust through the doors, with the secretary following behind. Monroe tackles Lyden. Steele tackles Mr. Hare. The two pair of men fight and struggle, throwing each other around as almost no punches are being thrown, but repeatedly banging into Laura as she waits for the printouts to complete. When the printer has finally completed the job, Laura rips off the pages and heads toward the door. As Steele and Monroe, who have finally gotten the upper hand with Lyden and Hare, continue struggling with them, Steele asks Laura what they should do with the two men. Laura flippantly tells him, "You're playing the cop. Arrest them." Monroe and Steele finally throw punches, vanquishing their foes. Having finally subdued their opponents, Monroe throws his arm over Steele's shoulder and tells him, "I see you haven't lost your touch either."
Yeah.
Well, we are now back at Maxwell's office. He's sitting at his desk, looking through the pages that Laura has brought him as she looks over his shoulder. When he tells her that this is unbelievable, she asks if he understands what the Perennial did, saying that all she got from the records was that they made up fake policies on those 8 people after they moved out of Los Angeles. Maxwell tells her that that was only the tip of the iceberg. After creating fake policies, Perennial then sold the fake policies, to other companies, explaining that this is common practice, like banks do with mortgages. Laura, trying to understand, thinks through it out loud. So Perennial made up bogus policies, sold them, then killed off the policyholders by using forged documents. The other insurance company then pays the death benefits to Perennial, expecting them to pass them along to the proper beneficiaries, but Perennial just pocketed the money for themselves.
So I have a question, because this confused me. Because is it this? Okay. Because if you've sold it,
you're out of it.
Yeah. Why would they be paying death benefits back to Perennial if they've sold off? Okay. So it wasn't me just being an idiot when it comes to like insurance stuff. Because I thought, why would you sell it and then have them pay back the death benefits? That doesn't.
Yeah. You wouldn't do that. My wife's life insurance policy has passed through the hands of like 4 or 5 different companies in the time that we've had it. And, company A sells it to company B, and they send us a little note saying, "Hey, this company is now handling your insurance policy." And then we never hear from insurance company A again.
Yeah. Because
the policy was sold as is, with the beneficiaries listed as is. Nothing changes.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
And the first company's out of it. And then if the second company sells it to somebody else, the second company's out of it. I mean, it just doesn't work that way unless there was something else going on that we're not aware of in the insurance business, where they would list themselves as a beneficiary because they still had some legal tie to the policy or something. But I can't imagine how that would be the case or how it would work. But I mean, I'm not going to say it's 100% guaranteed that it doesn't work that way, but I have never heard of anything working like that, whether it be property mortgages or life insurance or anything.
Well, to be honest, I haven't. I mean, I don't own a home, so the mortgage thing I don't know anything about. In terms of life insurance, we have life insurance, but again, I've never heard of companies selling the insurance your policy to another company. I'm sure it does happen, like you said, it's happened to you, but it's never happened to us. So that was kind of. And I know that in the States, they're like student loans often get sold. Like people,
Right.
That's not the case here. Here, student loans are owned by the federal or provincial government, and only the federal and provincial government. So your student loan is always going to be with, unless you're getting a line of credit or something from a bank. If you're getting an official student loan, there's two parts to it. There's the provincial part and the federal part, and that provincial part changes depending on what province you're in, but the federal portion is always the same amount, and it doesn't change. It doesn't get sold. It doesn't, what have you. So when I first heard about this, because I've got friends in the States who are still paying off student loans, and I'm like, really? And they tell me that sometimes their loans will get sold, and that they'll jack up in the interest or something like that. And it just baffled me because I didn't realize you could sell off debt.
That I don't think they can do. I don't think they can jack up the interest rate because
or it's compounded or something in a way that ours isn't.
Well, there's compound interest calculated, but it shouldn't change the base interest rate and the way it's calculated, because when company B buys it from company A, they're buying the policy as is.
Right.
And I don't think that on student loans, because they're through, quote, private companies, but the government is involved in regulating it or establishing the criteria on which these loans are issued somehow. And I don't think they're allowed to just change the interest rate just because company B bought it from company A. I think it has to stay intact. They're not allowed to change those kinds of terms unless
maybe they're not,
unless the student agrees to some sort of different payment plan and have it refinance, that sort of thing.
So I might be wrong about that, but what I know that I just did a quick Google search here, and the main issue, like the main things for us, like I said, there's federal and provincial. And then they're based on financial need, not credit history here in Canada. And then when it comes to the interest and repayment, there's no interest on federal student loans. There hasn't been since 2023. And for the provincial portion, it depends on the province, but in Ontario, there was a grace period of 6 months after graduation, and then you didn't have to start paying unless you met a specific financial threshold. So you had to be making a certain amount of money before you actually have to start paying it back. And then there's also some loan forgiveness. So for example, like if you're applying for repayment assistance so many times in a row because you can't make the payments and you're not meeting that financial threshold, the government would match it and pay it off for you. So I had a good chunk of my student loan paid off by the government until I was able to start paying it myself. And then it says here for the U.S. that the main programs are federal and, like you said, private. There's no private loans here, at least not specifically student loans. Like I said, you could get a student line of credit, but it's not the same thing.
Right.
And then interest starts accruing immediately. Standard repayment begins 6 months after graduation, usually on a 10-year term. It's income-driven repayment, so several versions exist. Insurance rates are roughly 5 to 8%, so it does say fixed, but then it says like private loans are widely used and often with higher interest, no income-based repayment, and no forgiveness. So I'm guessing that those private ones are the ones that are either selling off and doing they may not be changing the interest, but they're compounded in a different way that ours is, because ours is not necessarily like compounding it every month. It's like it's a fixed, this is how much interest you're paying every month. So anyway, that's not relevant to this at all. I just got confused about the whole selling it off and then paying the death benefits to perennial. It was like, what? Anyway.
Well, as Maxwell's looking through these papers, he angrily tells Laura that they're talking fraud here on a scale of tens of millions of dollars, and nobody had a clue. Until, Laura says, Lester Shane visited Los Angeles on the wrong day. Maxwell stands and begins pacing. Laura, recognizing his stress, asks what's wrong. My good friend, Phil Lydon. And that's all he says, but it's obvious that he feels betrayed, even from that one line. And Laura tells Maxwell that Lydon's high-flying days are over. And regretfully, Maxwell says, well, so are his. And she doesn't understand. He says, I told you, Laura, I put all my money in perennial. I put all my clients heavily into perennial. When this item breaks, that stock is going to be worthless. It'll ruin all of us. Now, in the script, there's some more things here that they left out, and I'm glad they did, because
I'm completely the opposite. I wish they had left it in.
Part of it, yes, but the problem is it puts Laura in a bad light. Laura says,
know that it.
yeah.
Okay, well, go for it, and we'll.
And even though we know that in the past she's kind of bent the law a little bit, this is outright snapping into.
She committed immigration fraud.
Yes.
So.
But here we're talking about some serious financial fraud. Laura, then we'll wait. Give you time to sell out. Norman, weary smile. I'm afraid it doesn't work that way. Laura, why not? Who would know? Norman, the SEC for one. Laura, then we won't tell the SEC right away. Norman, it doesn't matter. Laura, what do you mean? My God, your entire career. Norman, you're talking about your entire career. You can't take this lying down. It's Leiden's fault, not yours. There's got to be something we can do. Norman, once this story gets out, the SEC will investigate anyone who sold any amount of perennial stock in the last year, let alone in the last few days. Laura, spirits flagging. Isn't there some way? Norman, shaking his head. One thing you can do for me. Laura, name it. Norman, give me a couple of hours to prepare my clients before you go to the authorities. Laura nods, wishing there was more she could do. She puts a hand on his shoulder. He covers it with his own. I do like the part about the explanation about why they can't do it, but the fact that Laura is basically encouraging him to, because somebody's going to get cheated, because if they sell these stocks, the people they sell them to are going to get screwed. So basically what she's doing is saying, well, let's break the law and let's screw somebody else over so you don't get screwed.
I think
that's not a good look.
I don't. Okay. Yes, but I actually think for her, she's maybe not even thinking about that. She just sees that her friend is about to lose everything he's ever worked for. And in her mind, she just sees it as being unfair and unjust. And it is. It's not fair to Maxwell or anybody that bought stock in Perennial that they should lose everything they've ever worked for because the company was corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, she's got this strong sense of right and wrong, of fair and not fair. And she's I don't know, she's used to, like, the system wasn't fair, so she went around it and created a fake boss.
Mm-hmm.
The system wasn't fair to bar him from entering the country, so she committed immigration fraud. And yes, neither of those two things hurt anybody else. But I don't think she realizes what she's saying in the moment she's saying it. She's just trying to find a way out for her friend.
Except that he already told her. Says, when this item breaks, the stock is going to be worthless. Okay, so then before it's worthless, let's sell it to somebody else, and it's their problem. That's not a person that has a sense of fairness.
I don't think she's like I think she just wants him to get out of this. Like, I don't know.
Well, I understand that, but you can't get out of a bad situation by dragging somebody else into it.
Well, I was under the impression that when you sell stocks, you're just selling them back to the company. Are you not?
No. You sell them to somebody else, some other sucker.
Okay. Maybe Laura doesn't know that either because
she's a private investigator. They've investigated financial frauds before. I think she probably has a clue, at least a little bit of a clue.
I don't know. I just feel like she's not. The consequences of what's going to happen to someone else aren't necessarily at the forefront of her mind, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but she sees this happening. His world is crumbling, and she's thinking of maybe how she would feel, because she says that to Steele later. And she just when she says, "Well, wait, we'll give you time," and then he says, "It doesn't work like that. Who would know?" I don't know. I wish they had.
To me, it puts Laura in a negative light simply because she's willing to let other people take the fall so that her friend doesn't get hurt. And she has the information that tells her that that would be the case, that other people would basically be screwed in the process. And it also kind of makes it seem like she's not really necessarily good at her job, because this is, as a private investigator, something she should have knowledge of. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish they had kept it in, because I feel like it gives more weight to what happens on the balcony, with her thinking about how she would feel if things fell apart for her like that, as well as it shows that, Like, it just shows that there's a real connection between her and Maxwell, that she cares about what happens to him, that she's seeing that there are consequences to doing the right thing. Sometimes people get caught in the crossfire, and I think she maybe feels a bit of guilt.
I think his line, though, covers all that. When he says, when Sidon breaks, it's going to be worthless and it'll ruin all of us. I think that covers all of that right there.
For him, but I think for her, she's dealing with some guilt here. It was her investigation that did this. Her investigation that revealed the fraud that is going to destroy her friend. And maybe that's why she's scrambling to fix it for him. Even if maybe deep down she knows he's not going to take those avenues, she's trying to assuage her own guilt by pointing out, well, you could wait, you could do this, you could sell it.
It just seems out of character to me. So
I get that. I don't know. I liked it. I thought
if they could have rewritten it in a way that didn't make Laura look like she was that she was willing to cheat other people in order to save her friend,
I think maybe they were relying on people like myself not knowing enough about stocks to just assume, because when she says give you time to sell out, I just assumed that meant selling it back to the company.
Well, the company wouldn't buy it back. I mean, first of all, they know it's worthless. And then second of all, they know that they've got this information and they're going to go to the public or go to the law enforcement with it. And even if they could sell stock to someone else and make money off of it, they're not going to buy it back because they know that by the time it gets all through and said and done, they won't have the money to pay for it. Anyway, let's get back into the episode. We're on the outside of the balcony, outside of Steele's apartment.
She looks gorgeous here.
And Laura's standing alone, looking out over the city. The city of lights are fading in and out across the stone wall of the apartment deck, whatever that is.
Balcony?
Patio, balcony. Thank you. I knew there was a word in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Steele comes walking slowly almost out of the apartment as if to join her on the balcony, but he pauses at the door for a moment to watch her. And then he finally does step over to her and puts his arm around her waist. And he snuggles his cheek up against the side of her face, and she responds by raising her face so that her lips are next to his cheek.
This is just a gorgeous visual.
Yeah.
It's maybe not the most, when you think about it, maybe not the most comfortable way to stand. But I guess it makes sense given their height difference, because if it were two people that were the same height, it would be
it would be awkward, but
you'd be bumping up against their nose. But and this is, again, maybe the director going back to just that blouse that she's wearing. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of her hair being done up so much as it is here, but it looks like it's just windswept, and she's standing there, and the lighting is soft, and she looks beautiful. And the way he puts his arm around her, the way he pulls her close, it's very intimate without being sexual. It's comfort, closeness. It's perfect. Just the visual of it is gorgeous.
Yeah. So Steele asks her if she's thinking about her friend Maxwell. And somewhat breathlessly, she says that she doesn't know what she would do if her world suddenly fell apart like that. And Steele gently tells her that she'd go on, because that's the only choice any of us really ever have. And as they hold each other, lips nearly touching, the theme from Gone with the Wind suddenly comes from inside the apartment, followed by Lester's victorious proclamation, "We've got picture!" followed by Mildred's equally victorious announcement, "And sound!"
So, two things. Steele's comment to her, "You'd go on because that's the only choice any of us ever have," might sound anticlimactic unless you consider that it's calling back to his conversation with Monroe and how he and Monroe expressed this frustration that we don't always have a choice of who we get to hold close to us, and how lucky we are and how unlucky someone else is. It's the same dichotomy of what happened to Rudy versus Steele and Monroe getting away with all their stuff in their past, and Laura having her successful business and her life, whereas her friend Maxwell has lost everything. And Steele reminding her, and maybe himself, that we don't always have a choice about what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond to it. And all we can do is just get back up and keep moving. And it's a really nice little coda for us as the audience that he says this. And then the humorous amount of, like, we've got picture and sound. Do they end up sitting, do Lester and Mildred end up sitting on Steele's bed watching the movie together? Because
I don't know.
I mean, because Laura and Steele decide they don't care anymore.
Yeah, because Laura quietly says to Steele, they've got picture and sound.
Yeah.
And Steele raises his free arm to pull Laura around to face him, and he quotes, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn."
Yeah.
They kiss and they freeze.
So yeah, I want to know: do Mildred and do Steele and Laura spend the bulk of the evening out on the balcony together, kissing, whatever?
I'm going to guess that. I'm going to guess that after a couple of minutes, Mildred probably, or possibly Lester, but probably Mildred comes out and interrupts them. Aren't you going to come in? Totally oblivious.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
Mildred.
We've got video and sound. Are you going to come in and watch? And then at that point, they just give up and say, okay, fine, whatever.
Then Steele goes into the kitchen, makes some popcorn for all of them, and all four of them are sitting in his bedroom watching Gone with the Wind.
That's right.
That's definitely what happens after that coda.
Yeah.
There it is, folks. We just wrote a fan fiction on the spot, on the fly. But yeah, when he turns her around and kisses her, again, this visual, the height difference, it's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah. One of my favorite episodes, like I said, probably because the case is nothing really super exciting. It's life insurance, but the side plots, Monroe, Maxwell, the way that the episode goes from lighthearted to serious and kind of threads that needle without it coming across as jarring when it shifts tones. It just kind of beautifully navigates that.
Yeah.
Laura's outfits, whether it's the hippie outfit or the outfit on the balcony, she just looks fabulous in this. The whole thing just is put together really well. It's a great episode.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's it, we'll remind everybody about the website, www.SteeleWatching.com. You'll find show notes, ways that you can send us emails or contact us directly. Find Amazon links to movies like Gone with the Wind, DOA,
So many
Gaslight,
movies.
The List of Adrian Messenger, and Double Indemnity. 5 movies. That's pretty good
there's a
number.
lot in this one. Yeah.
And then links to other resources such as
The Facebook page, the Instagram page, the Twitter page, as well as the officially unofficial Remington Steele Facebook group. We are not affiliated with it officially, but we play one on TV. That doesn't.
Yeah, we play a group on TV. We just clone ourselves so that we look like a group.
Join the group. Come to the group and tell Eric he's wrong and I'm right. The usual back and forth. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But join us. Join us.
Yes, and then join us also for the next episode. Coffee, tea, or Steele.
This is another good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Eric and Sara here. Just a quick announcement to let you know that, yes, we do appreciate everyone who listens, participates, and supports the podcast in whatever way you do. But we wanted to give an extra thank you to those who are so graciously giving to be monthly financial supporters.
We are making live streams of our recording sessions available to anyone who is a monthly financial supporter. So not only can you watch us live as we record our podcast episodes, you will be getting access to the raw, behind-the-scenes, unedited version of episodes before they get officially released.
And Sara, does that include our mistakes and screw-ups and our humiliating? Yes,
Every
it does.
single one of them.
Every single one of them, yes. So again, this is just an extra thank you to those who are going above and beyond. But whether you choose to become a monthly financial supporter or not, we still love you. We want to say we thank you for your support, your encouragement, and your feedback.
If you want to become a monthly financial supporter, please visit our website at www.SteeleWatching.com to sign up.